Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 399, and today we're doing battle in the Runeterra Eternal Open, the second one of this initial Eternal season. And so, as I say at the beginning of all of these best of three based videos, if you're wanting to see the decks that we're playing today a little bit more in depth, you can scroll backwards through the channel. I won't speak too much to the deck lists themselves today, and more so speak about our best of three strategy. And so to get you kind of primed and ready, if you're wanting to skip ahead, we're going to be playing Jax Ornn. We're going to be playing Trundle Vayne Timelines, and then we're also going to be playing Jarvan, Vayne, Freylord. All three Forge decks. I'm very happy with the Forge component. We made mention of this in the previous video playing the Timelines deck that we're probably going to be playing Triple Forge, and that's what you're going to be seeing today. The last little bit of maintenance before we really dive in, I mentioned in the previous video that I was going to try and take the rest of this season and shoot up to the 1K MMR. I really wanted to come in and hit that mark. We managed to do it, right? We're hanging out at rank 23 right now with the 1K MMR. This may end up being our last Eternal video. I was mentioned that I'm trying or planning on switching back over to Standard, as there's not a tournament-related reason to continue playing Eternal, but might stick around, make some other videos, see if we really want to push the end of season rank or something. Haven't really decided, but the plan is to be playing Standard after this. And so, to dive back into the idea of the decks we're playing, I've been exceptionally happy with the Forge package. We played Jax Ornn in the last Runeterra Open, had a lot of success there. I think it's still a fantastically strong deck in the current meta, and I really just like the Forge package. This idea of having cards that are good early and good late is something that I really preach on and really like. And as we have these rando equipment generation things from the improvised, but then we make the improvised equipment much stronger, that puts us in the spots to where we have the equipment that are very good in the early game, and then if you have an additional like +3/+3 or +4/+4 on a scout equipment or an overwhelm equipment, that is a fantastically powerful thing to have in the late game. And so I really like that. All of our decks are featuring the big Forge package. We have the Apprentice Weaponsmith, the 2-cost thing that puts the Forge card in your hand, but more so the 3-cost improvise that heals, along with the Forge unit, the Hearthblood Mender, is what I'm really kind of banking on to help carry us against all of the aggro decks. And so I really like carrying that package across all of our decks. It gives us such a strong bit of resilience against the likes of Pirates and Poppy Zigs and whatnot that are really just trying to aggro in and burn you out. And I think that gives us a definite edge against a lot of what I call the good decks lineups. And so I don't think we'll run into too much triple control lineups. I don't think we'll run into too much triple aggro lineups. I think that the meta is so diverse right now that we probably just run into mostly what I call good decks lineups, as to where people are just going to be playing kind of the top 3 decks of the meta. We're going to see a lot of Seraphine Samira, we're going to see a lot of Jax Ornn, and then typically whatever someone else's either favorite aggro deck or control deck is. And so when that's the kind of space, and they do slot in something like Poppy Zigs, I feel like we're able to take a good and strong advantage of that. But even if they aren't, I think we have a pretty strong lineup against the good decks lineups. And so the last thing that I want to make mention out of all of these things is I'm playing Buried in Ice in all of our decks. And so the kind of 2 top contenders, the 2 top dogs of the meta right now, are that Samira Seraphine deck and the Jax Ornn deck. I don't plan on banning either of those throughout the course of the event, and Buried in Ice is spectacularly powerful against both of them. If you're playing up against the Ornn deck, if you get to Buried in Ice the turn opponent plays Ornn, they tend to just lose the game. And as we talked earlier about really liking having these high-powered equipment in the late game, Buried in Ice obliterates them out of the game. And so even if you don't get a game-winning Buried in Ice to where you play it and attack and just win, if we have big equipment and our opponent's equipment all get destroyed, it gives us a very powerful advantage there. Same thing kind of applies to the Plaza Guardian deck, the Seraphine Samira deck, as they're trying to build up their big critical turn. If you're able to Buried in Ice away 3 of their Plaza Guardians, you tend to be able to win the game directly through that. And so as we see a lot of the kind of control decks of this current meta not go super big, right? We aren't seeing a lot of control decks in this meta do stuff like play Rise or play the Sun Disk and the like, just that ultimate super late game high powered thing. Buried in Ice gives us a really strong possibility and a really strong advantage against those. And so, to dive on in, we could pull up the matchup table. We've edited it quite a bit since the last time. Up at the top left, that is just the current top 10 decks by play rate in the current meta. Like I mentioned, we're probably going to see lots of Seraphine Samira. We're going to see lots of Jax Ornn. But at the end of the day, I think Seraphine Samira is the current most played deck in the format, but only at 5% of the meta. And so that's what I'm talking about. Everything in this thing is just so diverse. I want to bring a really just coherently strong set of decks. Because if we are coming out to target things like Samira Seraphine or come out and target things like Jax Ornn, I don't think that there's a realistic chance that we'll play against them in more than, say, 5 or 6 matches across the course of the day. And so if you're really looking to target down one of those decks, A, I don't think you'll see it often enough, and B, I don't think your matchups against those decks are strong enough anyways to really warrant a direct counter strategy. And so that's the matchup table there. Lots of green, lots of yellow. Things are pretty in our favor. The thing that gets a little awkward with this set is the stats on Trundle Vi are kind of messy. The stats in this format as it is are kind of messy with the reset to iron for all of the players, but Trundle Vi in particular, as we'll talk about the Trundle Vi deck, we'll bring it up in just a moment, most concurrent timelines decks in the current meta are all designed to be concurrent timelines decks. And so what I mean by that is you'll play things like Station Archivist, you'll play a bunch of Cycle, you'll play a bunch of Predict cards, like that 4-cost elusive thing that predicts and draws a card. You're really looking to high-powered draw into your concurrent timelines and then use that to activate the rest of your deck. That's not what our deck is doing. We are playing a Forge deck with a bunch of improvised units in it, and as kind of a backup plan, as a high-powered play that may or may not turn up, we have concurrent timelines in our deck. And so they're playing a lot of overlap, a lot of similar strategies, a lot of similar cards, but the core strategy of each deck is slightly different, and it makes the timelines matchups in here a little bit different and a little bit odd, as we, of course, don't want to be playing things against like Rise. I feel like the matchup table for our Trundle Vi deck should trend a little bit higher upward than it actually is. But up next, we have the aggro lineups at the bottom left. This is what I was talking about. We're never going to ban an aggro deck in this event unless we're playing against a triple aggro lineup. All of the matchups are even to good. And so just again, that high-powered setup of having the Forge thing, the 3-cost new unit that heals every turn, along with the Hearthblood Menders gaining 3 health. We have a lot of power there. The thing that I will mention is that in our switch to playing Buried in Ice, I have removed the Fuel the Forge, whatever the AoE Forge spell is. So we are a little weaker against these decks in that sense, but I think we're still strong enough to have good matchups across the board. Now, with our deck, I've kind of mentioned what we're good against, right? I think we're good against all of the aggro decks. We have pretty good game against all of the mid-rangey style decks. That's what you get out of just playing Ornn and the big equipment package. We're pretty decent against the slower control decks of the format, right? If we're playing against something like Seraphine Samira, if we're playing against Aphelios Victor, we do have the Buried in Ices to try and axe their plan in the late game. Where we struggle, right, we most certainly struggle against a lot of decks, is in a couple of different places. The Elusives matchup is absolutely abysmal. So if you're familiar with the Elusives deck that Drissoth put together to kind of combat concurrent timelines, that is a nightmare matchup for the entirety of our lineup. And so we haven't been seeing too much Elusives. I haven't seen a lot of it popping up on the ladder. I haven't seen a lot of it turning up in terms of lineups in best of 3, be that in Gauntlet or in the previous Open, or just the kind of general chatter on Twitter. But that is a deck we are hardcore looking to avoid. Just those Elusives matchups will come in and annihilate us. We would have argument as having a little bit more game against them. Since we are playing Buried in Ice, that will tie into the next kind of component, is that if we do play against somebody running Elusives and Rise, then we will keep Elusives up. I feel like that Buried in Ice might just give us enough of a chance to kind of close out those games and gap up a few more percentage points to where I think it's probably just a little bit better than having to battle against Ryze, but battling against Ryze is abysmal. As you think of what is good against Ryze and what is bad against Ryze, if you are going for a completely wide board, a lot of small board presence like you would get out of something like Pirates or Annie Jin, those are exceptionally good against Ryze, but the more and more you tie into decks and units that are capable of getting shut down by like a concussive palm, it gets worse and worse. And so you're not really excited to be playing cards like Ornn against Ryze. Just dropping your 7-mana unit and having it get stunned is not a real recipe for success. And so that's what I'm talking about in kind of terms of speed of these control decks. When you have things like Ryze, when you have things like Trundle Set, they're just a touch slower than us, and their late game is so much better than ours. And so those are right up at the top of the ban list. And then the last thing I like to kind of call out is what I would typically call a brawler strategy, a bruiser strategy. I'm going with the over-the-top strategy, over-the-top like Lincoln Hawk, if you will. Some of you old folks will get the reference. If not, go out and check out Over the Top if you want to be in for a treat. Fantastic movie. But the things that have a lot of just like real punch to it. And so things like being able to play Nasus and then Atrocity him to face, we don't have any counter strategy to that. I put note of, say, Varus on here. Action Varus is going to be a nightmare matchup for us. It's very easy for opposing Varus decks to do a 20 damage OTK through a 1-1 unit against us. It's just these matchups are not things that we're wanting to face. But I feel reasonably comfortable in this format as I don't think these are particularly popular. I've seen 0 references to Varus over the course of the past week. I don't think I've played against Varus the entire Eternal season. I forget who it was. I think maybe Grandpa Roji or someone else that played at Worlds last season top cut the last Eternal Open with Varus, but outside of that little bit of chatter, I haven't really heard anything about Varus. Same thing applies to Rumble Vayne. Been seeing a little bit more Rumble Vayne running around these days. It's not a deck that we really want to be playing against, but it's to kind of highlight the strategy that we're trying to avoid. And so we don't want to play against elusives. We don't want to play against the slightly slower control decks like Ryze or Trundle Set. And then we don't want to play against these over-the-top style decks like brawler decks like Varus or Pantheon or whatnot. They just have the ways to OTK directly through our smaller units. And so that's the idea. That's the strategy. We can pull up the deck lists real quick. First and foremost, we have Jax Ornn. Nothing too crazy going on within this deck list outside of us playing the 2 copies of Buried in Ice. Again, we're playing Buried in Ice over Feel the Forge, whatever the Ornn flip card is actually called. And otherwise, we're pretty regular from that point. The differentiating factors that we have in here is I'm not playing Bone Club. I feel like with the addition of Buried in Ice, that Bone Club just gives you too much opportunity to clog up your hand. So we're not actually playing that one. And then I play the full 3 copies of Ruthless Raider. I really enjoy Tough in this format. I think Tough is very strong against all of the pokey sticks and the 1 damage style removal that you see running around. And then having that Overwhelm unit that can load up on a big equipment can be quite powerful as well. So if you have a +7/+6 fearsome weapon or +7/+6 combat reel that generates the spell mana back, having a physical Overwhelm unit that you can put that on is extremely nice as we look to make usage out of our good equipment in the late game. Otherwise, the rest of the deck should be pretty straightforward in terms of Jax Ornn. Up next, we have Trundle Vi. Again, this is the one I was talking about a lot at the very beginning of the video. This is not what I consider to be a concurrent timelines deck. We're not playing ways to dig for the concurrent timelines. We aren't predicting. We aren't playing Station Archivist. We are playing a Forge-based improvised deck that has concurrent timelines in it. And so with that in mind, we do still have this very big improvised package. We have this very big Forge package, but Vi is the thing that tends to really tie everything together with this one, in the sense that if you're able to give her Overwhelm, she can kind of come in and just close out the game and end the game. And then in the ways that we also mentioned in that previous deck, to where you might have just like one really big equipment, but you can't actually deal any damage with it, we're playing a singular copy of Sumpworks Map. This gives us a way to potentially elusive in for 8 or 10 damage. If it's Vi, 12 or 14 damage, just kind of steal a game out of nowhere. Last but not least, we have our Vayne Jarvan deck. Again, this is one that we've had a bit of success with. This is what Infinity Patrons used to hit rank 1 in Eternal maybe a week or so ago, and then I think he also day 2'd the previous open with this and had a fantastically huge win rate with it. It's still another deck that has a lot of the things that I really enjoy in this format. It's got the big Forge package in it. It's got a lot of tough units. It has the actual Darken equipment in it, which are good early and good late. The differences between mine and the list that he plays, I have Inner Beast in here. I like that Inner Beast generates that stance swap, and that stance swap can be used to pass out Overwhelm to our units, and so we can put Overwhelm onto Jarvan and then Cataclysm Jarvan into something. There's just a lot of combos that run around with that stance swap, and I feel like it's a little bit more powerful in this deck than it is in, say, Trundle Ornn. In Trundle Ornn, we are still maintaining the Troll Chant, but that's a deck that has Jax in it, and that's a deck that has the Ruthless Raider in it, a lot of early game units that we actually care to keep around. In this deck, it's not so much. Much more interested in just protecting a single unit and then having the stance swap that gets generated off of the Inner Beast. Last but not least in here, also playing that Buried in Ice that you're seeing across all of our decks. Just another fantastic play against the two top dogs of the format. And so that's the strategy. Those are the decks. But you know what we got to do before the battles begin? We got to go and pay the pay-to-win price. And we are going in on the Timelines deck. I think for the most part, I think in the 4 Demacia deck, everything's already premium. Like I'll scroll through these things just to check. I know this is important to everyone. So it's fully premium. You can't get skins for this one outside of the Vayne one we already have. Good job. I know the Ornn deck is fully premium. We did a lot of work paying to win with Ornn at the previous open. Everything in here is premium. Everything in here is skinned up because they don't exist. But that does leave us with the Timelines deck. And poor Trundle out here. Poor Trundle. Look at this. He's not even gold. We're going to take care of that. Look at that. He's so ultra premium now. And we're going to turn him into the World Breaker as well. Just get all of that stuff going. Unlock our Trundle to his fullest capabilities. Not only does this make our Trundle premium, it makes the Ice Pillar premium, and then when we play the concurrent timelines into Ice Pillar, that Ice Pillar is going to turn into a big premium unit as well. And hot damn, that's about as premium as it gets. I think the rest of the deck is fully loaded up. Let's go ahead and just double check. Just double check I'm not missing anything. Look at that. Everything's premium. We are good to go. Let's jump on into battle. All right, off we go. Forges for the Demacia, Forges for the Forge. Forges for the Timelines. Jump on in. See if we can't forge it up. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of forge, you know. Not a lot. Not too many. Just a little bit. And what do we got here? We got Alawi, Swain, Fiora, and what is deep sea monsters, and so I'm fine to play up against Fiora. I think this one will be completely okay. Kind of taking that stance of which of these decks is going to be able to just kind of single target us down. I lean a little bit more towards the Alawi Swain, but I know that the Sea Monsters deck is going to be packing Vengeances, and at the end of the day, they have like a very similar game plan to ours. It's just they get to have a ton of big units as to where we get like one really big unit, and so I feel like we can kind of handle Alawi Swain, but against Sea Monsters, I kind of feel like it's going to be buried in the ice or bust, and I don't really want to be kind of stuck in that spot. And so, let's dive on in. Pick up the old Timelines first. That's the deck over here on the left. the premier strategy for picking your decks at the beginning of the game. Just go for the one on the left, you know. All right, up against Fiora. She can have some game. She can take down some of our smaller folks out here, and so there's a bit of things to be a little worried about, you know. But let's see. And so I don't think we need to like hard mulligan for like trying to find concurrent timelines or our cheap forges here. It would be nice to find a cheap forge, but I think I'm okay to just ensure we have something with the Innovative Blacksmith. And if things go a little bit slow in the early game, then that's going to be kind of okay. You have to worry a little bit at least about our smaller forges just getting taken down by Fiora, right? We don't have a ton of combat tricks to really counteract whatever it is Fiora is trying to do, and so a little bit of worry there. So I'm going to go ahead and just open with the Apprentice. Like a lot of times the strategy with Fiora is going to be just like don't play anything the first few turns of the game. You don't get to, now that she's upgraded to 4 mana, you don't get to have these turns to where you just don't play anything turn 1, turn 2, then you play Fiora on 3 with a 3 bank, but it still feels like there's a lot of risk in throwing down that unit on the first turn, or kind of not leaving that space open to where our opponent's going to get a trade on the Artisan. All right, but reasonable enough stuff here. Upcycled Rake's kind of interesting. It's like, it's certainly the better equipment than the Shepherd's Authority, but with the Shepherd's Authority, our unit is going to be kind of big enough to go toe-to-toe against Fiora. As it stands, we're kind of counting on this burn to take down a Fiora, right? So we get into combat with Fiora, she plays some kind of barrier, like the riposte, since she has 2 now, and then we pop the barrier with a burn spell. If we're up against like the flash freeze half of Fiora, we're gonna struggle a little bit more. But we do have a free attack here. Let's go ahead and send in the blacksmith. I assume that Fiora's coming right down, and so there's a couple of things that we could run into here, right? If we have Troll Chant, we're gonna need to deal 6 to Fiora from the 3 damage out of the blacksmith, which we can do with Get Excited. If it's something other than that, I'm not entirely certain what it would be. My question here, though, is if we just send in everybody to let Fiora potentially trade with a Weaponsmith's Apprentice, or if we only send in the single unit. I think we want to send in everybody here. He takes the free one. Okay, so we get the damage in, take him to 8. Very close to the lethal with the double Mystic Shot Get Excited hand, and so have to kind of keep that in mind as we try and pick up some width next turn and close this game out. The other kind of interesting thing is Fiora has 2 health, and so she doesn't win a lot of these combats on her own. What do we got here? A Shield of Durandi and a Chain Vest. She's got it all. Fiora's going ham today. Look out. So what's the worst that could happen here? Would be if opponent like has a single combat, right? So they spend their 2 mana, single combat, down a unit, and then win a combat next turn. Let's see. It's like we have to spend some amount of mana, but I don't want him to just freely be able to get the takedown here. But we should be safe. Let's add in the Upcycled Rake. Now if he wants to play a single combat, we can kill Fiora with the Get Excited. Not have to worry as much. I'm kind of leaning towards this. I want to put in just the point of damage onto the favorite Artisan, and then see if we can't burn him out. This is going to be real close. If he has the single combat, we can certainly fail here, but if we get to deal just that 1 point of damage, right? We just need the 1 damage from the Artisan to come through, then we'll be okay. I really don't want to have to spend a shitload of burns to take this Fiora down, but it's better than losing the game, right? It's better than losing the game. Okay, we're good now. So Fiora will go up to 3 ticks. Opponent will fall to 5. They're out of mana, so we don't really have to worry about anything. We can send our burn-based friends right to the nugget. All right. GG. Ooh, that's scary. That was a little close. I saw that flurry of spells come down onto Fiora, and I was like, oh no, shit's about to get nasty. Failed to pick a deck. No, we didn't. We're playing Vayne Jarvan, okay? Okay, game, that's what we're doing. All right, can't keep any of this. We got to find something in the early game, right? We need at least something to do by the 3rd turn, so we'll get rid of everything. Maybe somebody will turn up. Nope. Weaponsmith's Apprentice. There we go. Somebody turned up. You gotta soak all this mana cost, but it's at least like reasonable. I'm not amped about dropping a Darkened Spear onto Weaponsmith's Apprentice, but having that mana does at least get us to this space to where if we need to just like spend the mana so we're not overbanking just an absolute shitload, then, you know, it makes a little bit of magic happen. But I'll save the Darkened Spear for our Vayne. Let her get the big stat boost and start working some of these combats. Should be safe. Again, it's a little scary having these little dum-dums like Weaponsmith's Apprentice around, but it is what it is.
Those who kill
Buried in Ice.
no more than fiends.
Makes it feel a little safer when you have the Buried in Ice in hand, knowing you can manage a Fiora for a turn.
Here, let me see that.
Alright, Vayne's ready to battle. You have to assume opponent this turn wants to bank a bunch of mana and then play Fiora next turn. And so hopefully the Vayne's safe. It's kind of sucky in the sense that, you know, if we attack with Vayne and he just takes the block with Starlit Seer, she is going to have 4 health and then is susceptible to dying to Fiora, but kind of is what it is. But with this space, my kind of thought is we're about to get kind of big with both Fiora and with Jarvan, and opponents coming up on turn 4 to where they want to be playing their Fiora, and they only have 1 mana now, especially since they played a card. I like the idea that we're just not going to have these little turdy units hanging out, and then we don't have to worry about them just getting killed off by the Fiora. Like, this feels like a pretty decent Cataclysm. He did play the... He did play like a Radiant Strike, and he played a Chain Vest in the previous game, so this may not be an ultra successful Cataclysm. But if we drop Fiora down to... It's like this either works, and she's just going to have 1 health, and then if it comes down to the space to where Fiora now has to challenge Vayne for a kill and then probably just die in the process, then that seems like a win. She should be shut down for the round. Fiora says, I don't want none of that. That's too much bust. That's too much. Get that big old favorite artisan, though. She says, F this noise. I'm ready for battle. I'm ready for battle out here. Alright, Shield of Durandi giving Fiora a ton of stats. Alright, let's get to battle.
Purge with silver.
Still got this Cataclysm mana behind. I love it after they've made this big investment in Fiora if we can't just kill her after combat. And so that's the kind of plan here. Is I don't think we're going to lose any units that really matter. Like if he blocks Fiora onto Vayne, then that still feels, you know, pretty good. He's going to have to make the big investment in her not dying. And now we should be able to take this Fiora off the board. I know she's not like really close to flipping at all, but if opponent has to start all over with the Fiora OTK and only having 3 cards in hand, it just gives us infinite time to get something going or use Buried in Ice or whatever. Alright, big old Vayne coming through again. Look at how juicy these units are now. I'm definitely ready to get Vayne on board. We'll take the tumble for this turn, load up the Darkened Spear. Like, there is an argument to not even bother with the Darkened Spear, given that we're so close to getting the Anaka. But, I mean, this is just so many stats on this thing, and then we get to open with Jarvan next turn. I think this is all just powerful enough to push on through with. Look at that. Look at the size of that Fiora, am I right? Or Vayne, I'm sorry. Fiora, you have ample size as well, but Vayne's ready to party. Alright, so 1 short of the lethal here, right? Jarvan's going to come in, hook the thing out of the way, but we'll start generating Cataclysms next turn. We'll have Tumble next turn. I think we're in tip-top shape. This is going to be an indestructible Starlit Seer. That's what. That was not on my eternal bingo board for the day, but I feel you. Makes life a little harder to tumble through when there's an indestructible unit on the other side. There we go. That defector will let us do the magic, though. I don't think we even want to bother. I think he's going to play Fiora, then we'll just play Buried in Ice.
I long for a worthy opponent.
Alright. It's gotta be good. Gotta be good. If you're not familiar with what we can do this turn now, assuming things go off and things go weird, he has a Harsh Winds or something here, we can make this open attack, play the scout unit, and then if we tumble the scout unit, that counts as a scout attack. We get a rally and we can attack again. And so we should be able to throw down dozens of attacks this turn, even if an opponent has a way to initially stop this onslaught from the big old Vayne and the big old Jarvan. Might have dropped his phone in the toilet. The things that were not on the opponent's eternal bingo board for the day were getting attacked by 8-10 Vaynes, and so I feel you. I feel you. All right. Well, we're almost there. The timer's going to start rolling through.
Full of fear.
We will have officially won a match. It's not going to be one of these opens to where we just don't win any matches. We'll have fun along the way for sure. But goose egging these things feels so brutal. So I'm glad we at least got one win in for the day. Haul her up from the basement. Yell it out. Yo, Ma. Hey, Ma, Bust got a win for the day. She'll be proud to know, too. GG.
A sentinel's work is never done.
All right, I'm gonna go and update our scores on these deck lists between the rounds, and so let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll jump into the next game. All right, off to the next one. Probably about time for some Samira. And there we go. Speaking of the devil, she turns right up. And so in terms of this lineup, again, like the Samira matchup's fine. It's not like spectacular. It's certainly winnable. It's probably right around coin flippy, so that's okay. Talia Ziggs is the one that we're hoping to kind of beat up on. It's a deck that's not going to respond well to Buried in Ice if they don't have the counterspell for it. And so that's going to take me down here to the Trundle mirror deck. This is just the one that's going to have that big single target style removal in it. We want to get that one taken out of the way. So let's jump in with the timelines. I'm kind of curious if we can't run timelines into Talia Ziggs here. It's a nice space if we draw it early and really get into a unit-based battle, but all of our units get +2/+2. And so we'll see if it turns up here early. Got a very strong Forge start, though, and so let's hang on to the Apprentice and the Artisan. See if we can't pick up a Timelines or pick up a Improvise to go with them. There she is.
Better get the forge going.
All right, not trading with the old Inventive Chemist. Take it a little slower. Maybe next round. I'm curious if he drops like a Rock Hopper here. It's so nice having these Weaponsmith's Apprentice in the space to where they can battle with Rock Hopper and make it at the end of the day. Ooh, a Concurrent Timelines turns up. I was like right on board with dropping the Blacksmith, but we can drop the Urchin instead. It's a bit of an awkward draw. I'm thinking what we'll want to do is I'm still good with playing the Blacksmith, and then I'm leaning towards next turn we'll play the Timelines and the Boom Baboon, just to try and get everything going. So here there is some argument to pick up things like Pan of Pain, but I think the combat reel is going to be pretty strong as we're looking to make these turns to where we start to play concurrent timelines. Having this extra mana is going to be beneficial, right? If, say, next turn we draw another 3-cost Improvise and we want to timelines as well, now we'll be able to get all of those stats on the board instead of just the boom baboon. Rock Bear Shepherd doing his thing. I'm curious if he like no plays units this turn, so we'll be able to tally a copy this hibernating Rock Bear next turn. It's a very realistic angle for this game to be taking. Alright, so we'll get our Boom Baboon in. Any of these exciting? Herald of Spring is the only real unit amongst the mixed here, so we'll pick that one up. Not going to be doing too much in terms of dropping ephemerals. Okay, so there's no... Though that's not to say there's no Talia coming at us next turn, but it's at least not doubling up this Rock Bear. We can deal with this 5 attack unit. So are we on board with this? I'm looking to play the Urchin and discard the Flame Chompers. We can still be in a spot next turn to where if we like really want to, we can forge the Flame Chompers and attack down the Rock Bear Shepherd. But it like Trundle doesn't strike me as being super impressive next turn. So let's do this and see what we pick up. Timeline's number 2. So then we'll have a couple of options, right? Depending on what we draw, we can either just play Trundle. If we pick up a reasonably costed unit, we can make this Forge play and try and take down the Rock Bear Shepherd. The Rock Bear Shepherd's not a particularly compelling takedown right now, though. He doesn't have any landmarks on the board. He's done his work up to this point, and so I'm leaning more towards the Trundle. And then just if there's a problem unit on the board, we can hook it out of the way. What's that? Pushes the spell forward and pulls it back. Interesting. It wouldn't be like a pokey stick, right? That doesn't... I'm trying to think of the spells that this deck plays. There's going to be Rite of Negations and Pokey Sticks, and I'm not certain what, other than that, is going to be coming forth, and so it's interesting. And so, if he has like an Absolver here, that would be the kind of scary play, right? If he gets to double Absolver Ziggs and block Trundle, that's not, at the end of the day, that's not horrible for us, right? We're not super invested in this Trundle actually doing anything. He is a nice blocker for these follow-up turns, but his space on the board isn't really a necessity. And if we're going to find ourselves in a spot where we can then just get excited away Ziggs, then that feels pretty decent. This should be one of these spaces to where, like, as long as we don't lose, we'll probably win, right? We have the timelines, we have the pillar, we have all the big stuff. We just don't want to come in and get blown out by a like a big Absolver play or something. So losing the unit's not that big of a deal. We can re-equip the combat reel onto somebody else. Do we want to go ahead and drop it now, though? We can make this real big old Trundle if we want. I think that seems okay, but it is also kind of compelling to put the combat reel onto a Flame Chompers. It's probably not going to be able to actually kill anything, though, right? And so let's just load it up on Trundle. That should really scare the opponent from wanting to attack here. Like, if you want to play Talia and copy the bomb and attack into Trundle, then her Talia spikes don't even kill Trundle up to that point. And so she's pretty strong in this space. And a little worried about the likes of an Absolver, but I think we're okay. He's outside the range of doing a big Absolver, the Overwhelm version, and so I think we can take a Glory Seeker here. It's kind of high risk, high reward, right? This unit does die to it does die to pokey stick, but if it gets to stick and take down one of these big units, that's pretty sweet. Alright, Ripperino to old Trundle. I want to go after this Ziggs while we have the opportunity, so we'll look to just discard the Flame Chompers and take him down. And see if we have a play for next turn. It's a little slow for next turn, right? We're short on the Ice Pillar mana, so we don't have a ton of stuff that we can do. But making use out of this combat reel is certainly on the table.
Now where did I leave that beaker?
This is the Scrappy Bombs coming out here to zing us, though. Jeez. So what's our worry at this point? It's basically the arsenal, right? I think we can just stop and pass here. His board is kind of awkward in terms of all these Scrappy Bombs taking up board space. And so like, if he drops in the arsenal and we get to respond with Ice Pillar, that seems like a pretty reasonable turn. Interesting. All right. Well, I will select our large unit for the day. Not the strongest set. We'll pick up the Spectral Matron just because it has Fearsome. But
Nobody's pulling your tail while I'm around.
if he's going to be capable of blocking this. As it stands, he can't block a Fearsome, and so we'll see if the Bakai grows. It's kind of tempting to try and take one of these units down now. But if he only had one unit, I would have been okay with it. Now that he has 2 units, it doesn't feel as worthwhile, right? If he's going to make an Absolver play to give the Bakai or give the Shepherd the stats needed to block a Spectral Matron, just doesn't feel super worthwhile. So this is a play to get the Hibernating Rock Bear on board. Right, so the idea is the unit's going to summon back on board next turn, and then the Rock Bear Shepherd's going to reduce the cost. So let's send the blow back at him. Again, if he's got like an Absolver, I don't want the Absolver activating on the Rock Bear Shepherd, giving him the means to get a takedown here. Right, we'll go up to 5 health just in case he has another Zerath Blast. And if the Zerath Blast is the last card in his hand, we should be in pretty good shape here. Combat. Alright. GG. That kind of kill was on my radar for the day. That one was on the bingo board, getting the kill with the big old Fearsome. I had expectations of that one being a thing. Oh, we got a kitty hanging out, though. Here, don't walk away from me. She's gonna wait for a prime opportunity to just dig her claws into my leg. Come on. All right, let's jump into the game, though. Another reasonable start for Jax Ornn. We got a double Forge draw to start off the day. Just need to pick up an Improvise unit to go along with them. See what we can do. Come on. Everybody wants to see a kitty. This is on the internet. That's the only reason to have the internet, right?
Trundle, did you wander off again?
Pretty certain. Pretty certain. So how do we want to handle this? I think I'm okay to drop the Artisan. The problem with the Artisan is if he picks up a Rockhopper, right? The Rockhopper can then trade with our bigger unit, but if he doesn't have the Rockhopper, then we're going to get a good attack for the turn. And if this is a pokey stick, I'm more than okay to soak that up. Come on, kitty. It's everyone's favorite. It's Pepper. Oh. Here she is. She says, "Hello, internet.
It explodes, of course.
Glad to be a part of your day." All right, let's drop in the Castaway. I like the Pan of Pain here. Gives us a way to soak up the Ziggs bomb hit and still get the damage in. I'm curious if opponent had a Pokey Stick in hand as well, as they kind of considered blocking the favored Artisan and then took it back. And so there's a chance that that tough is going to be extra strong here. Now I want to go for the Combat Cook. We did just pick up Troll Chant, but I don't think it's going to be ultra necessary in this combat. Go with the Pot of Pain. We have the 4 attack with the pot. It's like I see the what's it called? The Shepherd's Authority and say, oh, look at all those stats. And it's just wrong to take like 95% of the time. And so we'll let that spicy little nugget stay away. Come in with the Combat Cook alone. Continue on. Alright, now this is a scary turn for a Talia. Talia gets to come in and do all the big summon stuff. We're going to be hurting. She's not here. Beautiful. How do we want to go about this? So we do have the mana to do like big Troll Chant plays across the board. And I'm also curious if we play Fish Fight onto the Rock Bear Shepherd, and then opponent takes that as an opportunity to attack with Ziggs, and then we're able to catch and take Ziggs down. So I think we have a lot of chance for a big play to happen here. So let's go ahead and drop in the Fish Fight. Opponent has like a brief window to where they can attack with Ziggs. We'll try and catch through it, and if not, we still have this Entrancing Lure for the following turn. He clearly doesn't have Talia up to this point. Alright, so where are you at? Pan of Pain coming in. All the dinner wares ready for battle. And then we'll want to hook this Ziggs with the favored Artisan. I don't think that there's a real high percentage chance that the Ziggs can flip. You have to be playing a bunch of weird shit to to get him to flip, but I do want to be hitting Ziggs with our 5 attack unit just in case. So let's drop an Entrancing Lure, see what turns up. Everybody's favorite card in Battle Fury. He's stopping right there. Maybe we should have played Time and Dedication. My regrets for that are minimal, but we're going to be overbanking this turn and missing out on a couple of points of damage. Alright, the big boy's coming down next turn. So let's fix it. Let's go ahead and play the Time and Dedication. If he's going to have these 5/5s on the board, we want to have the 2 5-power units so we can get in and get nasty with this Troll Chant. Lots of big booms coming from the Ziggs. What are we at, 16? Aight. Kinda scary, kinda scary. Our hand doesn't do much. We are going to get this juicy-ass Battle Fury block directly onto Ziggs. If you need a descriptor on how a Battle Fury block goes, it's juicy. Now, it's unfortunate this unit doesn't have Overwhelm, but we do at least get to get the shutdown onto Ziggs. Let's see how this goes. Gotta protect ourselves as much as we can on this round. Still doesn't look good. Still doesn't look good. Need an Ornn or something. Jax is most certainly flipped at this point. Done 30 damage with our equipped units.
Bring it on! Sword, staff, fish, nothing speaking to me.
Let's try and clean this board up a little bit. So we went to Entrancing Lure. I don't really want to be losing any units this turn. We're probably stuck hitting with our Battle Fury bro. I guess the Troll Chant should make it okay. Now a Hearthblood Mender. I think it's like, the opponent hasn't spent any mana, and we get out of this turn pretty well with the Troll Chant, so let's hang on to the Mender for just a moment. Send the squad in. Jax is going to be a 7/6, so even if we're facing down a double Absolver, we'll get the kill onto the Rock Bear. Now here's our Troll Chant to save all of our units. And if Absolver comes in and cleans this stuff up, we're pretty okay with that, in the sense that, oh no, we should have done these the other way, shouldn't we have? All right. Learning lessons. But that's what really scares me at the moment.
Together, we are stronger than stone, faster than the wind. If I stumble, I have the earth to catch me.
And the big old Talia.
Don't want sand in your sleeves.
We're close to doing the magic here, favorite artisan. If we get the opportunity next turn to replay this Pana Pain, we can actually get it out in front of the Talia. Have to see how this round goes. It kind of sucks having to drop like our combat tricks in front of Talia here. Is she just gonna kill us?
Clumsy work. Need a weapon?
So we have a couple of options, right? We can catch onto the favored artisan. That's going to prevent a ton of damage here, right? It's going to take one off of each of these volleys, and it's still going to increase the artisan's health because she's been battle furied. I think that's where we want to start. Equip with the Pan of Pain. So now we're only taking 3 damage on the round, still getting the kill onto Talia, and we can stop. And so if we need to, we can play Parts Made Whole this turn. Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Like, hopefully we don't have to try and top deck out of it like that, but we'll see. So just losing Jax, that's acceptable. So we get to kill all the opposing units. He kills all of our units, but then we get to follow up with Blacksmith and Hearthblood Mender. That's pretty fine. So we get the Blacksmith. Give you the Sandsworn Amulet. Good time for Fearsome to roll through. We'll boost the Innovative Blacksmith with the Hearthblood Mender. And then we can see, it's like we can open attack next turn and throw down a Parts Made Whole while we're at it. So we have a lot of angles of attack next turn.
History is whatever.
See what comes of it. Get rid of that Light of Acacia. Jax turns up. All right, we're gonna play some more dudes. We're definitely playing dudes. And so, as it stands, it's like I want to get the Blacksmith on board just to try and push us out of death range, right? And then we can look to use Jax in a Pot of Pain this turn just to try and get our damages in that way. I'm gonna say there's not a ton of stuff that's gonna come in and take down the Blacksmith, but whew. All right, GG. Mark that score. I forgot to mark it after the last one. Right. All right, next battle. We won 2, so that's cool, right? You know what's twice as good as winning 1 match? Winning 2. You know what? You're learning. You're learning here. There's a 50% chance we win this whole thing, right? We either win it or we don't. So, all right, the old triple aggro lineup coming at us. As far as these go, excuse me, I've been reasonably happy against Annie Jen. Annie Jen just doesn't have any reach to it, and so they do have draws that can blow us out. We will probably have some of these awkward draws to where we don't play anything in the first 2 turns of the game. They just blow us out with Annie, but it's, to me, the easiest one to just kind of recover from and take down, especially since our decks have so much heal. The ones that I'm actually worried about here are going to be this Draven Scion the Scion piece is what causes the most problems out of all of this stuff to me. And so that's the one I'm going to actually come in and remove here. And so let's get our start with the old timelines. It's actually, let's start with Jarvan Vayne. I feel like Jarvan Vayne has the best early game to it. And if we have to play one of our decks twice, I think I would rather play Jarvan Vayne twice as opposed to playing Timelines twice, right? We have these steadfast Elkins to come in the early turns of the game. Hopefully just take it over right from the start. And so, pretty strong single target stuff. And ooh, things just got a lot better with that innovative blacksmith. And so, we'll play the Elkin. It's tempting to just not block here, but we're going to get so much stronger once we have tough. I think we can just take it on the first turn of the game. And so, a lot of this is going to come down to how the opposing draw looks. Like, if they're able to come at us with a bunch of width, like if they play Mariah Warden here, that's not good for us. If they play like random 3-2 or something, that's much better for us. And so, hoping for the old tall draw from the opponent.
Hello, new best friend.
Right, and then I want something defensive, right? Pot of Pain is going to be the one. We're going to get the most blocks out of it. Oh, says almost forgot to play this last unit just hanging out in my hand. So let's see, we're gonna take down both Saboteurs, take 8, fall to 10. Now hopefully we can start to recover. As it goes with this next turn, we can look to do stuff like if we don't have a forge, we can fish fight something and then replay the equipment. But now that we have 2 units to add to the board, I don't think we want to be doing that.
Kindle picked me. That's why I smith.
So I think I do want to pick up the equipment here. We have 2 things going on with this turn. Like, I don't want to get the blacksmith or the apprentice into combat. Maybe the apprentice is okay. We can attack with these. I think we might be able to grind through this. He's not really compelled to block a lot of this stuff on board. And now that we've gotten out of combat, I want to fish fight something with this Elkin. So we get the equipment back in hand and we can just replay it next turn. You're still the toughest bro on the block, my friend. Still the toughest bro. What you got? I have Nagakaboros into an attack. Okay. Just want to come in and prevent maximum damage here. So I feel okay going ahead and getting the blacksmith into combat. Opponent may have something like a Make It Rain to try and stop this unit, but there's not a ton of stuff that they can have. And now I'm going to come in and get a little bit of heal onto our blacksmith so that it has the higher stats, doesn't die to Make It Rains and stuff. All right, let's keep that heal coming in. Alright, Jarvan rolling through. The combat's happening. Seems like we're in a decent enough space.
It's nice. Could be nicer.
Soldiers of Demacia! Stand with me!
Stand with me, soldiers of Demacia.
Looking for trouble?
Misfortune rolls in.
Nothing like the
Okay.
stink of blood and sweat.
Reasonable enough.
No quarter!
It's gotta be attacking with Misfortune, right? Everybody's coming in. So if we can survive this little flurry, if we can survive this hit, should be okay. Looks like we're gonna... Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's all I can say about that.
You know.
Interesting. Really, really surprised that all didn't come in. I thought we were going to be in the space to where they're just going to start burning us. And so, didn't happen. Now we hit the Scout Rake. I was looking for Quick Attack or Scout Rake, something that we can use with this Cataclysm. Now this Cataclysm will give us the rally since we're hitting with Scout. Opponent says, that's too much for me, Bust. That's too much for me.
Raise our banners. Demacia prevails.
All right, GG. On with the timelines. And so, whew, gotta squeeze them cheeks and get ready for this, right? the timelines, in general, the timelines deck is going to be weaker against these big aggro decks, but we have that big heal package in here, so we're hoping to have that carry us through some of these games. Let's see what he does. I was gonna say, if he plays like a Legion Saboteur, something we can kill with the Weaponsmith's Apprentice, I'll take the trade. If he doesn't, I'm just going to wait until this turn and go for the concurrent timelines. And so hopefully we'll get, you know, a little bit more stats out of this Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Ideally something that can block one of these two health units and actually get a kill. Legion Saboteur of our own.
That's why Smith. Everything's in
Let's go ahead and attack. Like, if opponent has a Misfortune next turn, or if they have a Make It Rain, having the opportunity to take down our unit is not something I want to see. So, reasonable enough to have that go. Scary stuff happening now, though. Don't have any units to add to the board. Where are you at, units? Where are you at, cheap friends?
There's plenty of killing left.
Alright, Castaway, you were the perfect draw. Let's see if we hit something ridiculous, right? Something ridiculous. I want to go with the Pot of Pain, give us the most blocking action. Aw, man, you're hoping to see hoping to see one of those big lifesteal units turn up. Not the case here today. I'm thinking if we want this Devoted Council, like, we're gonna have to be blocking the 3/3. I think I want to go with the Solitary Monk. We're gonna be able to attack this turn, and then we can still block 3/3 units, and so take what we can get there. Also ready to interact with old Zap Spray Fin. Okay. Not bad. I prefer to see Gold Card than something that's going to actually deal damage to us, and so that works for me. Got a big old burn package in hand for this turn as well, so we get to stop 3 of these units.
If I must.
So he's out of mana. Not big worries about how any of these things are going to fall. We'll put the Mystic Shot onto the Tentacle. Probably have to discard the Parts Made Whole. And take down the Butcher. So then we can still play a unit next turn. And then if it comes down to it and, like, opponent open attacks on their next attack and we blow back one of these 1 health units, gives us a little something. But many scaries in this game. Many scaries. Let's just lead on with Trundle. I don't think we'll hit too much with Weaponsmith's Apprentice, but we might as well look, right? Or would we prefer to, like, we have the blowback mana for next turn either way. I guess the question is, do we ever want to discard this Weaponsmith's Apprentice to a blowback? I don't think so. Oh shit, we didn't attack with Trundle. Shit. Alright, something with 2 power. Weaponsmith's Apprentice it is. Weaponsmith's Apprentice it is. He's got a full board now. All right, we're about to get zinged. So if we stop the most damage we can, it's gonna look like this, the blowback. Keeps us alive. That's something, right? It's definitely better to be alive than not dead. Definitely better. Dang, too bad we didn't hit any of the timelines into lifesteal units. Looking towards the Bandle Commando now. I most assuredly think this game is done, but having that Bandle Commando could put us in a spot to where we get the additional blockers. Alright, GG. On to Annie Jin. And so again, this is a matchup that typically looks pretty weak for the timelines, but the way the timelines decks typically go, they don't have a lot of early game plays in it, and we're playing that full Forge package in the early game, and so we certainly have ways to just drop a bunch of stuff in the early game that you typically don't see out of a concurrent timelines deck. And so hoping that gives us a little bit of edge here. Sumpworks map, exactly what we were looking for. Not quite, not quite. All right, our boy Rearguard comes in. We are about to get cute with these bigger units. Ooh, timelines. I don't think we have time for that at the moment. So I'm going to add Favored Artisan. This is a unit that can be pretty interesting in terms of turning it into a 3/4. If we have it as a 3/4, we can then come in and do stuff like block, Legion, Rearguard. I'm going to go ahead and do it. The downside to making this play is next turn we would have had that 1 mana, and then we could have used that 1 mana with the Piltover Castaway to then play concurrent timelines. But it's just like, to me, it's just more important to get out in front of this stuff. Now we have really fantastic blocks across the board. Can't stop the stagehand.
Embrace your fate as I have mine.
So how are we going to handle this? So next turn, like, we can timelines Castaway, but we can't play the time and dedication. And so as it stands here, like, I'm usually on board with just blocking the stagehand. I think, though, it's just like 1 less damage on the Rearguard, and I'm looking to block him instead. And so we'll end up taking 8 on the round and fall to 7. Kind of sucks, but it does clear out his board as much as we can. And then if we pick up a heal unit, I'll feel much, much better. Just being able to develop some of this width, hopefully give us enough edge. Alright, Castaway comes in. Pick up the Panapane. Most certainly don't want to be in a spot to where we can't block. That sounds ultimately pretty scary to me. Now we can counterspell this damage. Okay, okay. And then I want to get attacks in with everybody. If we're going to run into something like Pirouette next turn, he can stop 2 of our units. And so if we're getting trades, that feels like a pretty big win for us. Now we're really fucking close to just winning the game. And so we'll see. I think we're stuck adding Trundle. Right, we only get to play 1 card this turn. So we don't have to worry about Sunhawk stuns, right? He played the Legion Saboteur before Sunhawks. So he's attacking with everybody. Are we just getting double Nox and Fervored? Man, I guess that's one way. We didn't have to play the Trundle. We could have sat on the Mystic Shot and counterspelled a Fervor. Maybe that's what we should have done. We should have been in a space to where, like, we were lined up unit for unit on opponent, and we didn't need to add our unit to the board. Yeah, we punted that one, I think. It's like I'm always in the space of you need to be like real unit heavy at this point and prevent all the damage as it comes through. But we were lined up to prevent all the damage. And so if he did have something like Pirouette, we could have just like passed and then followed up with the unit. But we should have. I'm pretty certain we should have 100% won that game. And then that's the spot to where, you know, taking losses like this is a real pain. You know, it's no like guarantee to win in that spot. You're taking 3 from a Nox and Fervor and then potentially getting hit with a Decimate or something later. But we were right in it to win that game with just being wider than the opponent and then having to attack. That's frustrating. That one's definitely on me. But on to the next one. That's what separates the big boys that are winning all the events from what we've been able to do out here. So, all right, another round of triple aggro. Interesting set. I'm happy enough to play against the spiders deck. We tend to actually be pretty good into the spiders because we have so many equipment. Those equipment let us block the fearsomes, and it doesn't scare me. And so it comes down to either the Poppy Ziggs or the Twisted Fate deck. And Pirates is just, I think, a little bit stronger against us because it's just so good at going wide, right? And so if opponent from Poppy Ziggs has one of these curves where they go like 1, 2 Ziggs Poppy, we have a much better shot against that than opponent that goes like Legion Rearguard, Mirai Warden, Misfortune, and then just has 6 units on the board. And so I think that that's going to be the better choice for us here. And then like with the last match, we'll start off with Jarvan Vayne. If we have to play one of these matches twice, ideally it'll be our one that has all of the cheap early game plays in it. All right, so reasonable start. We got this Artisan into Blacksmith. This is close in terms of like hanging on to these Ranger Knight Defectors and Heartblood Menders and just going 2, 3, 4, 5 up the whole game. Let's go for it. It's a little dangerous, but like if opponent has a Poppy draw, then we're not gonna like it. But if opponent has a draw that doesn't involve Poppy and just involves putting a bunch of bad units on the board, we're gonna be a-okay. So happy enough to get him off the board. And this is what I kind of mean. I'll play with Rear Guard. We're gonna add a favored Artisan. Opponent's gonna play like a Stone Stackers, and we can just pass the turn. The opposing deck also has a lot of problems with it. If we make it 3-4 out of this favorite Artisan, it's just big enough to stop all of their stuff. And so, feels good in that sense. Now here, Fish Fight, good draw. I'm kind of like looking at this in the sense of, we wouldn't want to make that attack so much against Pirates, as they are able to just completely fill out the board. That's not what opponent's doing here. And now it does suck to lose our Blacksmith, but like we're just so far ahead in every sense of the game that I think this is okay. Get the Ziggs off the board. He's only got 1 unit. Like Poppy, we always say with Poppy, she wants to have 6 units on the board instead of just 1 or 2 units. An opponent only has the 1 or 2 units in this space. All right, ready to start cruising. Get in there, Scalp Bro. And a Rear Guard. Okay. Sure. Are we going to encounter a Poppy? We have the Fish Fight to take her down if she turns up, but it's still scary. Now I think we can be pretty greedy here. We can look to take 5. I don't quite want to lose the Ranger Knight Defector at this space, because we're going to be threatening lethals with it next turn. And so we're going to add the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. We're going to put the Fish-A-Whack on the Defector. And then we're going to Time and Dedication and Heartblood Mender the Defector. And then just scout through with all this overwhelm damage.
Stand with me by the light, as my ancestors did.
as opponent goes, LOL, pirouette. Am I right? But I think we're still in pretty good shape here, even against a pirouette.
From all the regions, we are one.
All right, get in there, friend. GG. All right. Game 1. Victory unlocked. Let's see if we can't forge forth with some more victories, you know? What do we got? We picked up a timelines, which is kind of nice, but again, we need to find those early plays. I don't think the timelines is going to be ultra important in this match, as much as just having dudes to put on the board. I'd rather have a 2-3 forge unit than as opposed to having a timelines here. And so we'll mulligan everything. We found the favored artisan, so we can get on board with something. Ooh, and then opponent didn't have a 1-drop. Okay. So a bit of a dud on this next turn. Nothing we can do up to this point. I mean, we could play blowback for 1 if we wanted, but I'm leaning towards just putting the time and dedication onto the artisan and then just passing the turn. Let's see what he adds here. Maybe we should have attacked, so if he plays like Ziggs, we're in a better spot.
For the glory of Noxus.
Alright, let's just say oops and send our units back in. This is going to be a Poppy next turn now, isn't it? We do have the blowback for Poppy. Oh, just a Ziggs. Nice. So Combat Cook, ideally, he's going to be able to manage this Ziggs. He's not. He's going to be big enough to get in combat, but we didn't hit like a Pot of Pain that would let him survive. I think we want to go with the Fischl Whack. It's going to be a few turns before we get this equipment back on the board. And so that gives us some bonus. Well, I mean, I guess I was playing under the intent that we're just going to like block Ziggs with the Combat Cook. But what if we take a different angle here and then just block these? Like, I'm looking to say this. So we take 6. Losing our artisan does suck in that sense. So we'll take 7, fall to 11, then go back up to 14 with the Hearthblood Mender. I think that's okay. I was thinking with the artisan that we'd be able to block Ziggs, have our unit survive, and then hit him with blowback next turn. But Pokey Stick's fucking annoying. That didn't quite math out. Could have also looked to just build to this Buried in Ice, but I think I like this. I like the big heal. Opponent's blocks are not particularly good here. And then we're going to be in a spot to threaten lethal on the next turn. Next attack token, I should say. All the Trundles turning up to the party, though. He says, I'm ready to battle. He says, give me my chance. Let me drop my Trundle Quake. Stack him. Alright, something cheap. Combat Cook. 1 short of being cheap, my friend. 1 short of being cheap. Kind of regretting not going for the Buried in Ice here. So as long as we just don't die here, we should be able to win the game next turn, right? We have Vi in hand. If we get Vi on board with the Overwhelm equipment, she can just open attack into a House Spider and get the kill. And so, with that in mind, I think she's still okay. Like, so opponent's we're gonna have to block the Shark Trainer, the Ziggs, and then the Shark that comes out. So we're gonna take 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 from the, or 3, 6, 7 from Ziggs, 8, 9, and fall to 4. I mean, that's probably just going to be as good as it gets. But we're going to be in a spot to where we can open attack next turn. And then if opponent wants to try and Nox and Fervor kill us, we have to blow back to fight through it. Oh, I didn't... I thought that our Artisan was just going to be dying, but it's not going to be the case. Even added that up wrong. We're only taking 8 and falling to 5. Even better. Okay. That buried in ice would have been so sick this turn. But I think we're still okay. Yeah, we get hurt real bad by Pokey Stick at this point. Now Mystic Shot turns up.
Hold while I smith.
Eat this!
I wonder if there's a world where we should ever just Mystic Shot the Artisan to put the equipment back in hand. That can't be it. We should be able to fight through the burn here, I think. Let's discard all these Trundles. Counterspell that Nox and... Oh shit, did we fuck that up? He's sending that Nox and Fervor to the face and it didn't even really matter. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got completely bamboozled by what was happening here. Like, we're still healthy at 5, but... Oh man, that was not ideal. I got completely zinged about what was going on. Oh, Jesus. Let's see how this goes. Let's see if we can't recover out of this one. So we're going to add the Combat Cook. Definitely want him to be able to block. I want to bank up this 1 mana so we can bury it in ice next turn if we need to. So if he open attacks, we have the burn spells and the Mystic Shot. If he doesn't open attack, we can try and bury it in ice out of this. Oh, god damn it. We're going to get savaged, aren't we? So we can double Mystic Shot this thing. Then we're just going to die in combat. What a brutal day. What a brutal day. That one was definitely winnable.
I'll let you off easy this time.
Can't believe we did that. It's like the thing that went through my head was like, I knew that we were like close to death. I felt really good at 5 as I was kind of thinking, because you can't get decimated away at 5. And so I was like, okay, so that's fine. And then I saw the Nox and Fervor come to face and said, oh, fuck, he's just killing us, isn't he? Right? I knew that 5 - 3 isn't lethal, but I saw it coming in and was just like, oh, no, we're going to die. So I thought that we had to counterspell the Nox and Fervor, and that was just not the case. And so at the end of the day, we probably did want to be counterspelling it, but it was rough. All right, reasonable start in this one, though. We can get in front of his aggression. We have the 2 burn spells. We have this favored Artisan ready to pick up the time and dedication so that we can become a 3/4 and start blocking fearsomes. We got a shot in this one. I do like making these attacks. The thing with making this attack is he's probably not going to block, but it does help keep his spider count down. So if he's going to try and flip an Elise on us, we've been able to, keep these spiders away.
War Mason, reporting for duty. Make the Empire proud.
All right, so far we don't need to drop the upgrades.
Spirit of the mountain was working at his forge.
I think we want to make a 2/3 and then drop in another apprentice. These 2/3s are pretty good here, right?
He stoked a fire beneath the mountain.
So block a 2, block a 2, block a 1. Only fall to 15 and opponent's board sucks. Okay. Not a terrible spot. Can't block any fearsomes with this board, but we stopped the primary onslaught. Now Minder comes in. Okay. No thanks, bird. And a Doom Beast. It's a fairly tempting target as well. I don't think we need to immediately run out. This isn't a particularly high value unit. He's already done his thing, but it's a potential target. Go combat cook. It's like I'm eyeballing that Vi. She seems, primed and ready to come in and load up all the stats, but this is just too good. This is too good. And another Mender. Okay.
By the forge we create and we mend.
I'm actually looking to Mystic Shot this Doom Beast now. Here's if we shouldn't have done it last turn. Let's see what comes out of this. Just get it off board, make him actively deal with the combat cook. Okay. Right now he's like, gotta play a unit in front of the combat cook. That's lame. What's this lame stuff coming out here? Alright, here comes the squad. Get another round of that juicy heal next turn. Hopefully it's enough to seal the deal. Let's be real. We just need to not die. I'm looking to put the Mender over onto the Apprentice. I think that's going to be a turn or two from now, though. Like, there's no way he's going to 13 us this round, even with Decimates. Like, even with Decimate, and then if you want to imagine him having 8 damage of burn next turn from double Decimate, he's not going to get us with that either. And so, I think this is safe to add the Vi, and then I'm looking to use the Hearthblood Mender, like, over onto this Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Like, we could even just go ahead and do it if we wanted, but there's nothing that'll take us down from here. The most that could come out of hand would only take us to 3 at this point.
Stand with me by the light, as my ancestors did.
Get our big old Weaponsmith's Apprentice primed and ready for combat. Not worried about harrowing. I think we've done it. I think we're okay.
To the forge.
More air, more cold.
Trouble coming at ya.
Alright, Vi. V stands for victory, am I right? V stands for victory. Whew. Alright, well at least we didn't drop this match. That was brutal in that previous game, man. That was brutal. That was all on me. We've made some nasty misplays along the way here. Maybe I can go and eat some lunch and tighten things up from here.
Knockout.
Alright, but match 1, GG. Off we go. Off we go. I'm energized. I got a belly full of fuel. Can't run into any more misplays now, right? Enjoyed a nice salad. Made some eggs. Good job, Bust. Good job. That's what everybody's saying. Did an omelet. If you want a pro tip in life, you make an omelet, and if you fuck it up, you just make scrambled eggs instead. Easy peasy. You just tell them I was planning on making scrambled eggs. I wasn't in an omelet mood, so I just scrambled them up. But you really fucked it up. You don't have to tell anybody that part. But all right, on to battles here. Ryze is at the top of our ban list. We'll go ahead and take him away from the opponent. This is one of the kind of scarier lineups that I expected to see on the day. Perhaps we're past the aggro section, and now we're into the more control-y section of the event. We'll have to see how this goes. But again, these matchups not spectacular, but most certainly winnable. Probably out there looking up our deck lists right now. Pretty cool feature of of closed deck list day. If you go and look somebody up on Runeterra.ar, you can see their deck lists, but you just can't see it in the client. And so that's what I typically expect to be happening here as people go through and take the full 90 seconds to take a ban. I just assume you're out there looking up the deck lists on Runeterra.ar like a naughty little person. So to me, that's the biggest the biggest reason for having these all be open deck list is that Riot threw a shit fit when the deck trackers were actively like pulling out the decks, and so if you were playing, you could see what your opponent's previous match was. They would just show you directly in the deck tracker because they could pull up the stats that fast, and that's what I kind of. It's like you can do the same thing now. It just takes extra steps. You have to go and pull up the Runeterra.ar and search for the player, and you can get around it. You can unlink your account. You can change if you're not familiar. Like my account name is like FTP Bust, but then there's hashtag NA1. You can go and switch that number, and then they have a much harder time actually finding you on the sites and stuff. But I don't go that deep. I'm sure opponent isn't cheating, but that's one of those things you gotta worry about these days. Well, you shouldn't have to worry about, I should say. All right, well, we were hoping for a much more aggressive start. Nothing turned up. We hung on to the innovative blacksmith to make sure we would have an earlier play to throw down here, and that was it. She was slow today, but hopefully we can trudge forth a little further and be fine. We're getting back in the back way here, dropping the favorite artisan and then the Hearthblood Mender the following turn. If he has a burn spell or whatever to kill the blacksmith, we can re-equip the Pot of Pain onto the favorite artisan. The Pot of Pain isn't like a spectacular equipment here. We prefer to find things that either prevent our units from taking damage. So we're going to have quick attack, or we're going to have a tough, or we find the high-powered ones like Scout.
I will tell you of Ornn.
And then given our hand, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of juicy to not cast a spell onto the innovative blacksmith and then just kind of roll into next turn and heal it back up to full. I think I still want to go ahead and just play the time and dedication. If we run into a spot here to where opponent kills off our blacksmith, we can still just re-equip over onto the artisan. Now this here just like reeks of a disintegrate from Annie. I'm fine with that. If he wants to drop the disintegrate onto our favorite artisan in place of a stronger unit, that's okay. Let's see how it goes. See if we don't get this Annie off of the board. We can go a little heavier here with the Troll Chants, but kind of prefer to save Troll Chant for a later turn to where it might be a little bit more important. This isn't a super important Annie to be taking off of the board. It's kind of nice to remove so our blacksmiths and our menders can actually connect in combat, but it's not a necessity to get her off of the board. All right, everybody's playing more spells. Here comes the disintegrate. Sure thing. Sure thing. You fought valiantly, favored artisan. It just wasn't enough today. Now, it'll feel much better if we can get this Mender down. Gets the blacksmith out of range of things like the ravenous flock and the like. So, still pretty good chance this unit gets taken off board. But you have this giant equipment running around. It gives us the chance to play it later onto another unit. Alright, so opponent did manage to find a card. I'm going to Entrancing Lure and try and take this Annie down now. This favorite artisan is just never going to connect in combat here, so Let's see if we can't get the freebie taking down Annie. Keep the innovative blacksmith in the space to where it doesn't have damage on it. And then trudge forward. Battle on until we can see if Ornn can get on board. Hell yeah, impact damage. you gotta find the little victories somewhere, am I right? More troll chance.
We are all seeking an end to war, friends.
Interesting. We need to try and get this Broadmane off of the board. We're not going to be super successful in our efforts, but I think it's worth a try. Let's just send in the fish fight without returning the equipment and see what happens. I can most assuredly tell you like a pokey stick or something is going to roll through. Just kind of is what it is. Yep. So now it's a much worse space for our Hearthblood Mender. He's just going to get killed by the Perilous Pastry. I don't foresee us open attacking. I guess the thing we could do... it's like this deck typically plays things like Blade's Edge. And so it's like we can play double Troll Chant here to get our Hearthblood Mender up to full health. And then next turn, go from there. I mean, it might be worth it if we're just going to get 3 for 1 at the end of the day. That's not awesome. But these Troll Chants aren't going to do anything else the remainder of the game. Let's send it in. So he'll be at max health at this point. If he's got the Blade's Edge or something to take down the Mender because he has Broadmane on board, fine. Doesn't seem ultra likely, given that we've gone through this space to where he had like the Annie and the Disintegrates and didn't make any plays. There it is. They had it. All right. It's a pretty rough spot now. We need to count on this Ornn to do a lot of work, but as the Tybalak's gonna hit board, put the +1 stat onto all the skills, it overcomes the tough damage that Ornn's able to do, and so I don't have high expectations for him at this point. If he gets stunned out of this combat, we can just go ahead and call it a day and move on to the next one. Maybe. We gotta think on this one a lot. Seems pretty straightforward. I mean, you could play the Tybalak. We have to attack because that's what our deck does. You just block with Tybalak, get the damage onto Ornn, and then you're free to blast Ornn with any of your removal spells. Even your Perilous Pastry will take the Ornn off the board. I don't know. Maybe this is what we get for not thinking longer as we're playing as we're playing against those other decks and ran into a couple problems along the way, but it's like you're never losing this game. I don't see why we need to, like, I don't know. I get it. We'll just move on.
I knew this would happen.
All right, into the next one. All right, Jax Ornn. Let's try it again. See if we can't double down on the Seraphine deck. Alright, what do we got? This is not the kind of start we're looking for. We need to get our cheaper plays. Alright, a little more reasonable. Buried in Ice isn't exactly the card we're looking to start with, but doing the best we can, you know. Pick up the catch. It's our way to come in and battle Samira. Is Samira gonna come down? Nope. Sure thing. All right, Castaway in. I'm looking to just go with the combat reel here. We have a lot of stuff that we can be casting out of our hand. Should be pretty reasonable on this next turn. Maybe we'll find a good troll chant or something. It's tempting. Let's do this. Let's just go ahead and cycle out this entrancing lure. Probably not going to be actually hooking anything this turn. Now, it was a decent draw with the apprentice. We can add the apprentice and we can add the castaway. All of our mana works pretty well across the board now. Just got to be blowing this up as fast as we can. Fast as we can is what we're doing. So boring. I don't know. I equate a lot of this stuff to being like, do you like to just sit around and do math problems? Then like that's what I don't know. Like I'll have to start bringing the chess references back out. I haven't dropped the old chess spiel in a while, and so the way that I look at a lot of these games, a lot of these people that run into stuff like this is you say, hey Bust, you want to hang out this weekend? So we're going to play some chess together. And they're just like, nah, I'm the best in the world at chess. Why would I want to interact with anyone else? And they're like, oh, well, that's an interesting take. And so, whatever, dude. And so then you call up your buddy the next day and you say, hey, man, you want to come hang out and play some chess with us? They say, no, I don't want to hang out with you. I don't want to spend any time with you. Why would I waste my time? It's like just sitting around just doing a math problem.
No fixing that.
All right, no fixing that. So boring. All right, let's go ahead and drop in this Pan of Pain. Gonna put it on our 1 health unit. Make him a little bit more survivable into the next rounds. We can put the combat reel onto one of our apprentices if they need it. Nothing turns up to be a juicy target. Jax is okay. It's got a little bit of protection here. With the troll chance and the like, opponent already dropped a disintegrate, so he's looking good in that sense. And the encore. All right, you give that unit the stats, lock it and load it. It is fairly tempting to go ahead and fish fight this Scrap Scuttler. It's probably too dangerous. Like, opponent, they played the 1 high note earlier, but if we end up losing our Jax in this space, it's gonna be pretty painful. Now, this is much better. We can Entrancing Lure onto Jax. We can hook the Scrap Scuttler into Jax, and then Jax is going to have Overwhelm as this combat goes through. Ideally. We need some good idealies to be happening here. Opponent has a pretty shitty draw, it seems. They haven't really done anything this game. But we were getting them, kind of close. And again, we don't have anything to do, so we need to drop some of these things if we're given an opportunity. But with only 1 mana here, there's not going to be a lot of cards that they're actually capable of playing. And so maybe we'll find a troll chant or something amongst all of these choices. Still curious if we should have just gone for it on that previous turn. Well, I guess our Jax wouldn't have flipped. That's the space I was kind of thinking in, as if our Jax was going to be big enough to survive the round here. But it's not. Or if he was going to be big enough to flip and then get the bonus stats on attack. Not quite the case, though. Alright, so we take him to 6. Again, doesn't feel great. We've got a million cards in hand to try and fight through here. So, we'll see. Plaza Guardian comes on board. I'm pretty into just fish fighting this thing. The things with the fish fight here is he can't play his 2-cost spells, he can't play his iterative improvements, and he can't play his blood for bloods. And so we should find ourselves in a space to where even if this is unsuccessful, he doesn't get to make a bunch of copies of it. And not being able to play Lucky Fonda is kind of nice as well, just limiting the Seraphine to another spell. I was like, why does the Castaway still have health? Oh, it was the catch. Makes sense. Alright. Lucky Find rolls away. Our ragtag crew is ready to battle. We got this,
Alright, let's jam!
what do you call it? We got this Buried in Ice ready to go. Don't think we're going to be dropping it. We'll just come in and try and attack down this Seraphine. I think. Can we get through the next turn? Let's see if he plays a Plaza Guardian. Like, if he plays a Plaza Guardian, then we can drop it. But it's so bad. Like, he gets to double up on everything at this point. So we're going to have to just find a good Buried in Ice. So he's got 2 Plaza Guardians at least at this point. No guarantees on the third one. I think we can keep passing for the moment. See if he adds in one more, or if he plays a Blood for Blood. Iterative improvement. Okay, well, let's see if we zing him. Alright, maybe he didn't look up our deck list. Maybe he didn't look it up. I didn't mean to be accusatory. I'm just calling out a potential thing that can happen in the lands of Legends of Runeterra. Able to go and look up those deck lists. All right, let's see if we can battle through here. I think we want to just keep adding more stuff to the board. Like, he's not going to be able to really come after our team. Leaning towards the amulet in this space. Like, the thing that's good for us here is he can't play Scrap Scuttler and he can't play Jury Rig. And so if he wants to play units, he has to be putting, like, physical, actual units onto the board in this space. And that's just a little bit more challenging for him to actually do. So I think we're safe from here. We get this extra stat out of Jax from the bonus onto the Blacksmith. I was thinking in my head that we had that catch still kind of spaced out in this game. So I thought we were going to be able to say catch onto the Apprentice and then have the 6 damage from these 2 small units at the end. Not quite the case, but we do still have the counter strike for Jax if that comes up as a necessity.
Any takers?
It's nice. Could be nicer.
All right. Opponent doesn't think this one's done. He says, you should have fish fought, bro. You should have fish fought. I think we're safe, though. If it's a chain of spells onto Jax, we have the counter strike. If it's a chain of spells onto not Jax, then he's enough for the lethal. Like, I think we're pretty good to go there. All right, GG.
Gotta keep that light burning.
All right, game 3. Get the old Jarvan bro out here. See if we can't get something exciting happening in this one. Again, gonna be looking for those early plays. Trying to get a nice aggression going in the early game. That's about as aggression-y as it's gonna get. Hang on to that. Love being aggression-y. It's my favorite feel in the world, you know? My favorite feel in the world. So we're going to start out Elkin. I'm not looking to drop this Darkened Spear anytime soon. I want to go Elkin into Apprentice into Blacksmith. And then try and press forward with those units. I mean, there is some argument to just not even play the Apprentice. How do we feel about that? We have a couple of options now, especially after we just picked up the Darkened Aegis. Like, I kind of like next turn just playing Vayne and then putting the Darkened Aegis onto Vayne. Makes her much more resilient. Let's see how it goes.
Monsters still lurk in Demasia's every shadow.
And then next turn we can look to say Apprentice Blacksmith. Is he gonna rip you? He's gonna say rip Vayne? Sad day for you, girl. Hey. Sad day for you. Still decent though. We'll go Apprentice into Blacksmith. The Jarvan has a lot of potential in these upcoming turns as well, and so not opposed to getting that old friend onto board.
That's why Smith.
Seraphine rolls in. Want to make sure we have enough attack on this one. Definitely happy with the Pot of Pain. Again, this isn't like playing against Annie Katarina to where you shut down almost the entirety of all of their removal by picking up Tough, but if you're in the space to where like High Note doesn't kill the unit anymore, or if you have to play multiple spells to try and take this down, it feels pretty nice. How do we think about just going full big, though? Like, I initially had in my head that we were just going to be playing the Darken Aegis, but what if we just look to go Favored Artist and Innovative Blacksmith? I don't think I like that nearly as much, especially now that we can play all 6 mana of units next turn. Let's just get the Jarvan on board. He's going to let us contest the Seraphine. It's kind of nice in this spot, putting the high-valued equipment and the Darkened Spear on our high-valued unit and Jarvan. The idea with that being that if opponents going to be going out of their way to kill Jarvan, then we should be getting the Darkened Spear back in hand in time for it to switch into a Naka. It gets kind of awkward and annoying if you're in this space to where you have a Darkened Spear onto like a Steadfast Elkin, and you really want to be getting a Naka on board, but your opponent's just never killing the Elkin. And so it's kind of nice if we just get, a couple points of stats out of the Spear and then load up the Jarvan. Interesting, going for the Song Spinner. Doesn't flip Seraphine, so I'd say I'll be like almost assuredly tell you they have another Seraphine in hand. It's very curious though, the way that round went. Like he wanted to play something and then just didn't do it. The thing I'm starting to wonder is if as we roll into this next turn, and we're in a spot to where we play Innovative Blacksmith. Oh my god, he hit Scrap Dash Assembly. Jesus Christ. Okay, whatever. I was gonna say, we're in a spot next turn to where we can play the Innovative Blacksmith and then potentially tumble it if it hits Scout. So I like the idea of that being a potential play. What a fucking insane Song Spinner, though. That's probably enough to end the game. And a Steel Tempest. Nice. So it's a 7-mana Song Spinner that gained like literally 1,000,000 health. Insane. Alright. So, holy shit, why would he attack with a Scrap Scuttler? It's like, I think now we're in a spot to where we probably have to just go for the Darken and then use it to hook in Seraphine. The problem with going with the Darken now with the Jarvan is Seraphine's gonna flip and she's just like, she's never gonna die. And so we're just kind of stuck with her on board forever. So I do kind of like this idea of trying to pick up a Scout. But it's like, even if, say we go Elkin into Blacksmith, right, that's 4 of our 8 mana, and then we hit Scout with the Blacksmith. Does that get us in a spot to where we can even lethal on the next turn? That's tough. I'm gonna say probably not. Alright, I'm gonna go for the Elkin Blacksmith and see what we can do. We can still pivot out of this kind of play and then just go for the full board but coming out here and just fucking around with these tutus doesn't really get us close to a win, even through these scrap scuttlers. Alright, so we didn't find the scout equipment.
I will tell you.
Tell the one who
All right, the ragtag crew of shitty attackers ready to come in. Let's see what you all can do. Let's see what you can do. You can deal about 4 damage this turn. Ooh, an inner beast, though. So if we're going to inner beast for 5, where does that get us? Leaves us with 4 mana behind. Alright. Let's try and clear out these dum-dums. Keep as much stats on the board as we can. That's something Troll Chant won't do for you. Troll Chant doesn't do that, that's for certain. Troll Chant doesn't do that. Still nowhere near lethal. Like, I don't imagine this forces forth a Seraphine block. I guess the thing that would be somewhat positive for us is, like, this is going to resolve, this Ram Stance is going to happen. Then they say, like, play a Plaza Guardian. It probably costs, like, 2 at this point. No real easy way to tell. And then they can chain off a couple of burn spells in combat. Like, we have some opportunities to, like, build up through the Plaza Guardian.
I hear you, son. Now you're about to
As long as they don't have, like, the way to go ham, right? If they don't have a bunch of iterative improvements and stuff we can fight through. So it looks like we might get in 6 damage this turn.
It just snapped.
Seraphine, if Seraphine feels like blocking, get in about 11. Is a little closer. Here come the Plaza Guardians.
The craft sings.
Let's hear it. Show me what you
All
got.
right, that takes him to about 5. Takes him to about 7. So no burn in this one. No burn in this deck, but if we can fight through just a little bit more, we might be able to get this going. And so on next turn, opponent has another Plaza Guardian in hand and a Flare. So if he has like one more spell, he's going to be able to add Plaza Guardian, and he's going to be able to rally with Samira. The question that I start to run to is, are we just going to say, like, play this dum-dum next turn, add the Anaka in next turn, and then try and double attack 2 turns from now? I think that's probably the safe route to go about this. The only, like, the downside to our hand here is we're not able to add a bunch of units to the board. Interesting, he's playing Plaza Guardians now. He's missing out on his chances to flip this Samira. Maybe he's not missing out on his chances to flip this Samira. And Jesus. Alright. Are we just dead? Close. He's lost out on his equipment. Really no idea why he played all these cards right now. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Maybe he's worried. Maybe he's worried about our other Buried in Ice that he hasn't seen come out of this deck. But he doesn't have the Flare for Samira anymore, so we can block a lot of the big units here and then still be surviving into the next round. So we can fall to 2, but then we die to the Samira, so we have to block with everything. Okay. So we're gonna get down the Anaka. And then we're gonna look to do quick attacks with him. That's gonna be our path to victory here. Or we'll draw Buried in Ice. It's another way to get at it. Uh-oh. Don't like seeing him dropping spells right now. That's a good thing never. That's a good thing never. Is that the full 8? Sure is.
Let's try one octave higher.
Well, I don't know how we're getting out of this one now. It's gotta involve Buried in Ice. He's only got 1 card in hand otherwise, and so. Oh, is he just gonna rally? I guess so. All right, GG. That's rough. That 100% came down to that sputtering song spinner. Just, I don't know. It's like just the RNG aspect of that. Hitting the Scrap Scuttler for 2 blockers. He hit the Gruesome Theater to return our Dark into hand, and then also hit a Steel Tempest out of it. Like, that was just fucking insane. Like, I have no idea how you're supposed to come in and stop that, but GG. All right. Well, let's see if we can't rattle off 4 victories. We've done better, we've done worse. It's the same guy? No, it's somebody different. Okay. And so reasonable enough stuff here. The Twisted Fate deck is, I can't remember what this thing is. If it's actually the Elusives deck or if it's it has to be the Condense Powder Kegs thing. So that's the deck. Like I think that's probably more in the spectrum of beatable than the Annie Katarina, so I'm going to drop the bans on it. That's the deck. We can't really interact well with the likes of with the likes of their combo. Like if they're playing the Condense and the Mirai thing that puts a bunch of powder kegs onto the board, but they don't have Disintegrate kind of cards in their deck, and so we have a bit of an edge in that sense. So as we look to play all these tough units like we're getting here with the Elkin and the like, their removal shouldn't be nearly as strong. Alright, Elkin, the board is yours. I'm going to go ahead and attack. I don't want him getting blocked by a Conchologist. It's a Nora.
And a cat in the lap.
Off we go.
Off we go. The damage is rolling right in. Alright, Innovative Blacksmith. Upcycled Rake seems pretty strong here. I don't expect too many big units out of the opposing deck. I'm certain we're going to run into next turn and he's gonna portal into a 3 health unit. Oh, even better, Heavy Metals. Alright. That's a joy to be running into on the day. That's a joy. That's a pleasure. So what do we got? I'm looking to fish fight this Nora off of the board this turn, so let's go ahead and add in Vayne. And then see if we can't extract some cards from the opposing hand before we drop the fish fight in.
Ooh, the suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
He whiffed. So we should be safe just to use the Elkin, right? There's not going to be playing any 1-mana combat tricks here. The Tough will let him survive for the day. The board is clear for an attack. All right. He's got 3 portals in here, though, so things are about to start running out of the deck. It's a minion. He's going to be battling forever. There's the rest of the portals. So what do you got? A can't block guy. Like, this feels pretty straightforward onto the Tentacle. Are we willing to... like lose out on the Vayne here. Like the thing I'm kind of eyeballing with this is we can take these blocks, like our Elkin survives, the minion goes back to hand, I'm never blocking Hunting Boar, and then we have this Soul Spinner on board, which is fine. Then this turn we're going to look to add Combat Cook, and then next turn we'll open and Jarvan will hook in the Soul Spinner, and then that gets us pretty close to the Promised Land. Pretty close. No scouts to be found out of here though, right? The opponent heavy metaled our scout equipment. Fizz turns up. Alright. Wasn't expecting another 1-mana unit to come in, but still got to come into battle. Jarvan still hooks the Soul Spinner. Let's see what Fizz does. I'm certain he's blocking something.
You'll be sorry. Back it up.
Is that where you're going to land, Fizz? That's it. Interesting. And so, I mean, we got one extra tick towards flipping Jarvan here. That's an interesting spot that if he had a pokey stick or something, he could have played it in combat onto Vayne, so that she wouldn't get that additional level up potential. We'll see what comes out of this. Are we just dead? Might just be dead. Let's at least force something out of him with the Jarvan attack here. He has to block this or he dies, right? And so if we can get one of these Shellys off the board, we might be able to make it through the turn.
I never surrender.
And I guess, I mean, it might be a tall order for him to actually deal 20. And so we have the Hearthblood Mender to come in and gain an additional 3. There's a little something there. We didn't have the tools for the big tumbles or for the big cataclysms off Jarvan. The scout equipment is gone. We don't have the overwhelms. Could get those points of damage in with the Pot of Pain though. The combat cook's ready to do some work.
We fight till we're ragged, then we fight again!
All right, are we safe now?
Let us take a peek at life beneath the waves. By the forge we create and we mend.
Hopefully we're safe. Ontologist number 2. Probably much further away from safe than I would like at this point, but kind of is what it is. Heavy metals onto Combat Cook, generated off Conchologist. Okay.
No dessert, no.
So I'll still take the 6. I don't think we want to get in front of the Hunting Boar. Like, I know he doesn't have any portals at this point, but it just kind of feels like one of these spots to where if he's going to
Purified bolts.
if he's going to like come in and kill us, hang on, I lost my train of thought on that one. But it's like I think he has to block all of our units here to not die, and if he has to block with all the units, he probably can't come out and win the game. Is where I was thinking of going with that. And we still got our friend buried in ice in hand, ready to do something. But I would suspect there's going to be a variety of stuns and things and stress defenses and the like coming in across the board here. What you got? Pokey Stick, High Toss onto Vayne. We still have some units behind. I mean, the thing we're looking to do this turn is to double Cataclysm into Tumble. So if we can keep the opponent's board clear, we should be able to get a Tumble kill. All right, so we have this Jarvan Cataclysm coming through.
For the king!
Rip minion. That's the way to go about it, right? He's gonna condense a minion into another minion. Okay, I think we're fine. So he's gonna play the other minion. He only has 1 mana at this point. We challenge Jarvan into that minion, and then we tumble Jarvan. All right, opponent agrees. GG. Whew, nonsense. That's one of those spots I'm so happy that we have access to stuff like Buried in Ice in here. Like it has to just be like completely off the wall. So there's 2 things that makes me feel better about this Nora matchup here. I'm glad to kind of got to see what we're up against in terms of it being a base or at its end game being like elusives, and so we know it's not just like the stupid combo deck that we can't interact with, and so that feels at least a little bit better. Here I'm actually going to take just a full mulligan. We're on the even attacks, and so ideally we'll find a concurrent timelines or something to do in the early turns of the game to help get us there a little bit further, a little bit faster. Drop in the timelines, as considering if we wanted to wait with the Artisan, we get the Forge card either way, but sometimes it's nice to just drop that unit and try and get the 2 points of damage in.
Time to find a muse.
What do we got? The Boom Baboon? Tayari's kind of interesting. Just distributing those +2 healths can be quite strong. Like everything here dies to a Mystic Shot, but being able to boost the health on another unit's kind of interesting. Let's go Tayari.
Don't ask for permission
Ew.
or forgiveness.
Well, we didn't have a choice in terms of having a Samira survivable unit. Bit of a bummer.
No, you call, I'll respond.
Getting attacked by Seraphine. I'll go ahead and let you know. That is not the path to success against the Seraphine decks. If you're in a spot where Seraphine is attacking you, ooh, you better strap in. You better strap in. Here I'm leaning towards just dropping the Flame Chompers. I guess we might actually want to use it here in a turn or two, so let's drop this dum-dum. Father Fury has the most potential to actually be able to attack here. Just I don't want Father Fury. The thing that we're trying to avoid is being in this spot to... Holy shit, he's playing House Spider? I don't know the last time I've seen one of these people play House Spider. But the thing that we're kind of looking towards is we don't want our units to just get like 2-for-1 by high note. And so I don't think the Father Fury is ever particularly safe in this space.
Hope they're watching.
All right, well, we get to start putting real units on the board now. Look out. Look out. Get the Samira out of here. Trundle's ready to party. Wow. Wow. See how fast those disintegrates come in. The only thing, I feel like we should have probably attacked with the Song Spinner last turn. Like if we traded the songstress, if we traded the songstress with the house spider, we would have felt pretty okay about it. All right. Opponent dropped their song spinner, more powder. Can't wait to see what comes out of this. This is going to be delightful, I can already tell. I can already tell. The silence onto the flame chompers, okay. That was it. That wasn't so bad. He did get a bunch of spells for his Seraphine, but we've definitely suffered through worse events than that. Pick up tough on the equipment. As far as these go, the units aren't that exciting. It is kind of nice having access to Spell Shield on this Stellacorn. Otherwise, we're just looking towards the Stefan because he gains a ton of stats. Let's put this on the Spell Shielding unit here. It's going to be big enough to kind of tango with Seraphine. Hopefully it'll cause some problems for the rest of the way. Probably don't need to time and dedication it, though.
More air, more coals. Turn back.
Okay. Out here ready to break the worlds, our pay-to-win price on Trundle out here, ready to break some fucking worlds down. Look at that. Look at that. Check them abs. Yeah. You gotta say that about all the champions, right? Was this Death Lotus? Okay. Like that could have gone a lot worse. So it pops the spell shield on our Stellacorn. Trundle doesn't die. Ooh, and he gets to regenerate? Ooh. Exciting. So not too much this turn. We'll get to drop the pillar next turn.
Take the shot or lose the chance.
I'm just going to go ahead and boost our unit. Protect it from Samira just a little bit. None of the units we're picking up here are going to survive Samira, but... Oh shit, we don't get the... I wanted to get the spell off of the Gust Monk as well. We could have picked up a 3-2 here, but that's okay. I mean, do we ever look to just blow back this Samira? Our discards... not that spectacular. We'd be discarding a Trundle and a time and dedication. Like I'm hesitant to be like discarding Trundles in this space. Given that if this Trundle dies, the one that we already have on board, it's still such like a high value play for us to get to add the second Trundle that's going to come in and generate the Ice Pillar, and then we've already played the timelines, and so like we just get so much value out of that. I think that's the way we want to go. Now coming out of these, probably just want the big 8-5 Fearsome. Seems better than the 6-5 Fearsome. And then we'll see if we can't just get a kill this turn. There's a non-zero chance we could just go for Buried in the Ice, or we can play Trundle Quake and clean out the opposing board as it stands. We do give all of our units the -3 attack off the Trundle Quake, though. Seraphine's about to flip. I think the idea with this is going to be, we're not going to win the game this turn. It feels kind of off the table at this point. But I think opponent's going to get into a space here to where they're just going to try to not die. And then go into next turn and then pop off with all the Plaza Guardians. And I think this is going to be another spot to where we can just ace them with the Plaza Guardian plan. So, or ace them with the Buried in Ice plan. What was this? He puts damage onto the Conservator. Let's see if we pick up something interesting. Mystic Shot. Okay. reasonable enough attack.
Just when you thought you'd seen it all.
Inner Beast. Coming through big time, huh? Making that 3-3. Dang, son. He's got 2 stance swaps and a flare in hand. I'm not quite willing to blow back any of this stuff. I think we're going to want a Mystic Shot out this Samira. But the Sanctum Conservator is going to fall here. So this will limit them to 1 Samira at this point, and then again, like, we're hoping we go into this next turn and he does a bunch of ridiculous shit, and then we're able to go in with the Buried in Ice. He doesn't have a ton of cards in hand at this point, though. But I don't think the Buried in Ice is going to be lethal either, so that's a thing to kind of watch out for. Sumpworks map, I love you, but this isn't the this isn't the place for you to turn up. How bad could this be at this point? I think, like, I almost want him to actually come in and kill our Trundle so that we get the second Ice Pillar. But that's probably a little bit much. So I'm just going to try and blow back off the single one. If he has his one last remaining Samira to get out of the blowback, then, I mean, fine. I guess you did it. But that feels pretty safe to me. Oh, wow, he had the other Samira. I guess it makes sense for him to not play the all-out. So how do we feel about Trundle Quake now? It's like if he plays a stance onto Trundle, kind of like all bets are off at that point. Or if he plays a stance onto Samira, can't really do anything about it. And then with the Trundle Quake, our Stellacorn does survive for the round. Again, it's like I don't think he actually comes in and attacks Trundle, though. Right? I think... Is that even good, though? If he, say, Samira attacks into the Stellacorn? That all just sounds too bad to me. Okay. Let's take the clear where we can get it. But it doesn't look horrible, right? Got 2 mana in hand. Only Seraphine left behind. And he's got his 3 cards. Okay. Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Just who we were looking for. Just who the doctor ordered. Said no one. Said no one. And so what's the chance that we actually want to Sumpworks map onto the Stellacorn? I don't think we do. It just dies to literally everything here.
Show me what you got. Let's hear it.
The Mystic Shot, sure thing. Alright, so we take him to 9. We could look to play the Weaponsmith's Apprentice this turn. Like, we're going to take the 3 bank either way. I think that's how we might get him. I don't think he's going to see the Buried in Ice coming in. So he's got at least 2 Plaza Guardians at this point, right? Because he's played... he's played the draw 2 thing. So let's drop in the Pan of Pain. So now he can get up to 4. Is he just going to be open attacking on us? Open attack isn't lethal. This is closer. That's 20. Ugh. He just had the other one naturally in hand. So we guys, like, we gotta find a way to kill Seraphine.
Sing it with me now.
We had the mana for the Buried in Ice, but I didn't think that there was going to be a full 5 on board. Damn. That's brutal. I thought we were going to get into the next turn and he wasn't going to be able to kill us with the open. He was going to have to do something, and brutal. Trying to think. I mean, we clearly had the mana. We didn't have to play the unit and the equipment. It didn't feel like it was going to be necessary there. All right, though. On to the next one. Let's see what we can do. And so, I'm not like really keen on hanging on to Boom Baboons. I think this is going to be like the last round to where we want to just get rid of everything. We're going to look for a timelines, or we're going to look for some forge units, and we want to start building up early. It's like the opponent's going to be so good at just like flooding the board with their Nora cards that I don't want to be out here dealing with that. But we did hit the timelines. Now it's a real question as to whether or not we want to discard this Buried in Ice, right? It's turn 2. We're pretty far away from actually using it. And I think I want to hang on to it, though. Like, as this opponent's essentially just playing a big combo deck, I think we'll get a chance and we'll get some time to come through with that. Now with this, not a particularly exciting set of units. I'm not picking up one of those 1 health units in the face of a deck playing a bunch of Pokey Sticks and stuff. So Pix isn't particularly exciting, but she can survive a Pokey Stick, which is a little more exciting. Sunpork's map kind of interesting, right? As we're up against this Nora deck that has the Nora deck that has all the elusive kills in it. So Combat Cook can come in. Teeny Dactyl's going to be a fantastic addition here. We should be getting that point of damage in with the impact and then getting the flip into Pterodactyl. It's Timelines deck doing Timelines things, am I right? We're all out here having fun with that. Gonna be really close to flipping this Vi as well.
To have misplaced my self.
I'm just gonna go ahead and take the takedown on Nora. Like, I don't know. There shouldn't be anything in the deck that's going to let him copy her, but, or I'm sorry, like protect her in combat tricks, but still a little worried about her getting to run around full bore. Now we'll drop in the Blacksmith, take the Improvise, go with the combat reel on this one, and then we'll look to get Vi down next turn. Do we want to Parade Electro Rig? Like, the thing with it, I think that's the one we want. You don't actually have to support stuff with the Parade Electro Rig, right? We don't have to shuffle a bunch of copies of Pterodactyl into our deck. We can just block with it out on the right and not worry about those damages coming, or those cards we don't want getting shuffled in. Alright, well, I'm definitely making some blocks here. Just prevent the most damage. It's kind of interesting if we want to take this Redeemed Prodigy off the board. I don't think we do. We can hang on to Pix. Pix might find a good block a turn or two from now, or be used to level up Vi. Vi's getting really close to just lethaling this game out as it is.
Piltover Enforcer on the scene.
Do we want to just go big with Vi in this spot? Like, opponent's down to 1 mana now. Ooh, he hit a tasty Feyfolk, though. It's like I'm looking at Vi and knowing that we can just, like, nug for 10 and then get the flip. Right? If we Subworks map onto Vi and then support, she's going to have 10 attack and get the flip. Like, I don't think the opposing deck can actually deal with that. It's tough. I think at this point, we might actually get the Buried in Ice next turn as well.
Let's get to the fun part.
Alright, so the 10 attack Vi rolls through. He can block the picks with the tasty Feyfolk. But I think that's okay. Oh, he doesn't. He elects not to. Now we can just look to bury to nice his team away and hopefully be done. Gotta have that 2 mana. 7 plus 2 equals 9 if you're trying to do a little bit of buried and ice math out there. Alright, something coming down. What's this nonsense gonna be? I don't like seeing spells just come down and hang out in the center, not knowing what the opponent's actually playing with here. Alright, so we can just take 4? I think that's okay. So that's happened. If we just pass, is opponent gonna pass as well? Let's see. I think it's fine if they do. I don't want to get like too greedy with this buried in ice, but alright, he adds in Twisted Fate. Now we can drop our trap card. This doesn't target. You can't fizz counter a buried in ice. Alright, they've been buried. So how bad could something even go from here? Right? You gotta kind of figure out the worst case scenario. If we're gonna open attack, Nora makes a bit of sense. She can block a Vi next turn. But I think we're safe enough to just like add more units next turn. Right? The major concern for me is we make an attack like with everybody, Vi hooks into Nora, and then like he just has the stun for our big unit. So I think we want to add one more in here. Rake's fine. We got somebody big. Steamed Hierophant, okay. We can look to Hearthblood Mender the Hierophant as well. Okay.
Dead in their tracks. By the forge we create and we mend.
And I'm ready with the blowback should it become necessary. Got a bunch of impact from the Pterodactyl. The way I'm kind of looking at this is we'll attack with the Hierophant, he has to block. Next turn we'll attack with everybody again. I think, like, as it stands, I'm looking at just boosting the Pterodactyl with picks as a means to help ensure its survival. Right, I guess he's probably not going to put big enough units out here in front of it, though.
I forge in his name.
We can come in this way.
Are you lost too?
Sucks if the Pterodactyl falls, though. I want him to get those extra points of damage in next turn. Group shot, group shot. Alright, opponent falls to 2. Alright, well that feels better, right? We didn't get that Vi hit in, but we have the blowback as a kind of stopgap to losing. I don't think you can ever like burn us out from here, right? It doesn't strike me as a possibility. So we can turn Zonite Urchin into something. Might as well take the Warden's Prey. The discard could be relevant. I don't think we'll end up needing it, but... Alright, I think we feel better with Chum the Waters coming on board. Gonna put this Pot of Pain on old Pix. We'll blow back before the turn is over here. Sends a blowback onto Longtooth. Twisted Fate's nowhere near flipping. And then hopefully the open attack will get us out of this game. Feels like we should have won this game a long time ago, but... but, there's always a but. Can you blow back a Fizz? There's no way that should work, right? I don't think you can blow back a Fizz. You'll get the counter spell on it. And there's the victory. Whew. GG. Well played. Hard-fought battle.
Stands for victory.
Taken down at the end. All right, the match was found. That was quick and reasonable enough set. This is one where I'll actually take the ban here on onto the Seraphine deck. Jace Lux has some problem cards, right? Hex Obliterator can be kind of annoying. But at the end of the day, I think it's a reasonably okay matchup. And then with the Ornn deck, I feel like we should just be advantaged across the board. We have the mirror match where we have Buried in Ice. We have concurrent timelines, which may or may not get banned. And then I just think our Jarvan deck into it's a little bit weaker, but I think that Buried in Ice factor just has the potential to be huge. So Jax Ornn gets banned. Rip you. Let's go ahead and start with the timelines. I think the timelines is probably the stronger one into both. Like the Jax deck can, just kind of come out the gates and build their big super unit before you're able to come in and do anything. But if we get a timelines and they don't, it tends to be pretty huge. So take the full mulligan. I want to either find forge units or I want to find a timeline. Didn't find any of it, but hopefully we'll be okay. And there's the timelines.
Better get the forge going.
Better get the forge going. I was like, well, these Mystic Shots might be okay if he plays Jax on turn 2. And then the Weaponsmith's Apprentice was here to tell us how wrong we were.
About Ornn, okay?
Alright, so his next unit's going to be a big one. We don't have any forges, but we do have the timelines to hopefully
To work.
make up for the stat loss. It's kind of an awkward hand. These Mystic Shots aren't doing anything. Alright, I feel a little better picking up a second unit. So let's go with the Sandsworn Amulet. I like being able to still come out and block. And then in terms of units here, the Pampas Cavalier is pretty interesting. And so the downside to it is, so we're going to say if opponent plays a, like the unit that we just played, it's going to get +1/+1, making it a 3/3. And then the additional stats it picks up are probably going to make it bigger than the Cavalier. So let's just go with the Badger Bear. It should be closer to guaranteed to getting a trade. And then we can hopefully, kind of out-mana opponent here.
Here, let me see that.
Right, he goes up to 5/4. He takes Combat Reel. He wants to battle with the Badger Bear. This is where we're hoping to start getting our advantage, is that equipment goes back into hand. He's already spent all of his forges, and so now he has to play a fresh unit, and if he wants to get these Combat Reel stats, he has to spend a bunch more mana. So hopefully we can just get out ahead of this nonsense. Or if the nonsense gets too nonsensical, right, we got Buried in Ice. So I think we should be able to build up to it. It doesn't feel like this is a game to where... it's not just like the big aggro nonsense draw to where you turn 1 Apprentice, turn 2 Jax, and then just have a bunch of stats on board immediately. And so, oh,
Nicer.
he's bringing the aggro. We have this Parts Made Hole, which is potentially interesting, but I don't think we need it as a surprise blocker right in this spot. So let's pick up the Upcycled Rake. Anybody in here big enough? Well, the Arena Promoter's the strongest one. He's just not strong enough to Oh no, he is going to be strong enough to fight the apprentice. He's going to get the forge on the item. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not a bad 4-drop. 6-4 scout tough. Belongs in Demacia. That's what we need in Demacia. Alright, opponent's thinking on this one hard. I wonder if they had a fish fight in hand and are trying to figure that out. There's no way to make this innovative blacksmith big enough to win a fight against the arena promoter. He could have been making like a time and dedication play, I guess, but it's going to go on to the apprentice. Sure. Crunch. What a top deck. What a top deck that was. Go us. Go me. Let's pick up this big-ass 5/6 Stellacorn, boost up our scout unit. If that doesn't get you moist, I don't know what's gone to. I don't know what's gone to.
His fire burns bright in our hearts.
Alright, he's got a Mender of his own. Alright, I guess you're capable of taking down our arena promoter, but again, let's strike in, get his unit off of the board. Our Stellacorn is the strongest one out here happening now. You're free to come in. And then at some point, if you're not familiar with why we like Buried in Ice so much in this match, not only does the opponent tend to be in these spots to where they have to drop Ornn, so you spend all of your mana for the turn putting Ornn on the board, but the Buried in Ice also nukes all the equipment. And so the reason that we feel kind of advantaged in this match is that we're dropping bigger units on board that have stats because of concurrent timelines, and their stats all get wiped away as soon as we played a Buried in Ice, and so gives us the opportunities to take it down that way. That's a big old boy. That's a big old boy. So I think we're gonna have to Buried in Ice next turn. What? We'll have a total of 10 mana. I was hoping that we could be in a spot to where we played like an upcycled Rake, and then he plays a card, and then we got to play the Buried in Ice. We're not going to get there. It's going to be a little bit too far away. Here comes the Parts Made Whole. Gotta get the big prevent on this turn. So we'll discard the Amulet. Drop our bro in front. Now it's kind of interesting in the sense, I mean, next turn we're going to be at 7 mana, but I'm curious if we can't greed this up a little bit and just get enough units on board to where we feel okay playing Buried from Ice 2 turns from now. The place where that falls apart is if opponent just plays Ornn next turn. Right, Ornn's going to be flipped, and that's going to be too much. I'm not quite willing to risk that, I don't think. I just wish we had a little bit more mana to be able to try and bait this stuff. Maybe we can't. I mean, we're going to have 10 next turn, so we can put a Weaponsmith's Apprentice on the board. Just kind of see what happens, you know? just gonna say maybe. We'll see. I don't feel like we're wasting too much of a thing this turn. Let's see. Here's Pix. Pix has Barrier. Now I want to see him just play Ornn, right? Are we being too ridiculous? Is this too much nonsense? We can kind of pivot away from this, though, right? If he spends below 7 mana, if he puts something on the board this turn that isn't Ornn, then we know that we're safe, right? We can go into next turn and use our Buried in Ice to do whatever. But this turn, we have to, just kind of wait and see. We just get nuked if he drops Ornn on the board. So Jax comes in. All right. Do we have enough stats to stop Jax?
Got more scars than years and got a lot of years.
Well, I mean, we do have Vi. Vi is a a valid means of trying to attack Jax down. I think I like this. If we just play Vi, and then we put an upcycled Rake on her,
Doing this my way.
we can attack his actual good units here. Earthblood Mender comes in.
As my ancestors did.
Now, the other interesting thing we can do is this is another spot to where we have this Pix attack, so we can attack with Pix into Jax.
Justice firsthand.
And then she's going to flip off of this.
Freeze.
So he only has one card in hand. We shouldn't have to worry about losing our Vi here.
Let's get to the fun
Like,
part.
even if he has a rando +1/+1, it's not going to be enough to take Vi down. So there's the flip. That dum-dum's dead. Okay, okay. One woman wrecking crew. Messing that nonsense up. Good job, Vi. Good job. So he does have this Overwhelm Bro. I think we're healthy enough to not completely worry about it. I don't want to lose Vi. Oh, shit. We attacked with Pix, so we don't have an attack token. Okay. All right. I was getting super amped about what was about to happen there, but it's nothing. Nothing's about to happen. And now, ideally, we'll get the Buried in Ice. It's been a long time coming, but we should be able to get it. Let's play something. Play something. Play something.
I forge in his name,
Oh shit, he's attacking.
as my ancestors before me.
So what can go wrong with this? Not much. Not much. Picks out here doing the dirty work. So Battle Fury would be the card that we need to ultimately worry about. He has 8 mana. Can we even beat a Battle Fury, though? Like, I don't care if we end up losing Vi in this space. So if we move it over like this, we can't stop a +8 from a Battle Fury, but... Oh, no. Is that what's going to get us today? Alright, well, let's see. Oof, okay. You gotta squeeze those cheeks pretty hard. You gotta squeeze them pretty hard. I think we're set now, so I'm gonna add in Trundle. He's gonna put the thing in hand. We'll add in the Piltover Castaway. Next turn, we'll play Ice Pillar into Buried in Ice. Should be able to call it a day from there. I've run into like so many of these spots today to where I felt like we're just going to get an inch further, just like a little nugget further to get that big blowout Buried in Ice, and it's just been a little bit short all over the place.
And I thought I was a
Phew. I think we're safe. There's not anything too weird that could come out of Freylord to just nug us for 6 here. In the fish fight. Okay. You did your work today, Vi. We appreciate all the things that you do. Castaway comes in. We'll pick up the Overwhelm. Probably just want Jaw Hunters out of this. Does let her challenge down something in particular. See those equipments come back in. Beautiful. Pretty easy Captain Fair, and I would like to have the health stats hanging out in the event something goes wrong here, but I think we're pretty good at this point. We'll get that World Breaker Trundle break in the Worlds, get our get our big old Captain Farron. We'll play the Buried in Ice, clear out the board, and then upcycled Rake whoever's left over. Still a chance opponent plays like a fish fight or something, and so this should be enough to do it. RIP all those juicy equipment. RIP all those dudes. Whew. GG.
You should be honored.
All right, timeline's victorious. On to Jarvan. All right, he brings Jax again. Again, early game stuff, 4G kind of stuff. And so I think with this matchup, I'm kind of okay with hanging on to the Darkened Spear. This is a matchup to where in the early game, I feel like we can kind of get something going with this. Like if opponent has no 1 and we have the Steadfast Elkin, and then on turn 2 they play Jax, and then we play Darkened Spear and just shut down Jax from there. Like that's pretty big. That's pretty huge. It's bigly, you know. And so the Apprentice does cause a problem here, though. If he has that big Jax draw, we're going to suffer at this point. But this looks good to me. Do we ever want to fish fight this Apprentice? I don't think so. It's not a super high-valued unit at this point. He does get the bonus, and he gets to start kind of amping up in terms of forges, but I think it's okay for the moment. We're getting our own stats throughout the deck. Saying, watch this. I got the +1/+1s coming in. It's a big old quick attack and blacksmith. We got a 5/3 tough combat cook. Okay. So our combat cook comes in. I want to pick up the combat reel. Being a 4/5 into his 5/3 tough doesn't really matter, and so not going to survive any of these combats by picking one of the equipment here. And so I think the combat reel is probably going to be just a little bit more successful. Interesting. I'm surprised the combat cook didn't come in. And now the defector turns up. I was intending on making just a big forge play here, but getting to drop down the defector with an equipment's gonna be pretty big. So let's drop it first, see what happens. I'd like to see opponents spend like a little bit of mana here. Let us know if we're gonna be able to fish fight our way through this. Right, if he plays a Hearthblood Mender onto his tough combat cook, we can't do anything about it. But if he plays a Hearthblood Mender onto his quick attack, and then we fish fight this thing down, and then get the equipment in hand, and then put the equipment onto the defector, we're kind of off to the races and running. Especially if we get 2 defector attacks in, bringing back 2 spell mana.
With me by the light, as my ancestors did.
I'm going for it. You can troll chant out of this or catch out of it, but if this all goes according to plan, we are in a outstanding spot. And even if it doesn't go according to plan, still just having this big equipped Ranger Knight Defector for next turn with the Hearthblood Mender coming in. A lot of power rolling through there. Okay. You did your job, Combat Cook. You did your job. We're really close to that Buried in Ice as well. I kind of like to see that turn up on that turn 7 here. We might get ourselves in this spot to where we get to say Hearthblood Mender the Defector this turn. Next turn we open attack with Defector, and then he plays Ornn, and then we get to Buried in Ice from there. It's a pretty humongous play. I think we would prefer to wait like 1 round before we go after all of that, but we do have a lot of power there. There's also potential for this turn if we want to, say, make a Cataclysm play with the Defector to get the Scout token. I don't think I'm quite there. I don't think that's where we're at.
Bright in our hearts.
It's a big old Ranger Knight, though. No complaints about that guy. I guess the place we could find ourselves in next turn is if we can't Buried in Ice, right? We only have 1 mana going into turn 7, but if we open with the Defector, he's going to give us that +1 attack. And so, ooh, interesting. We have a bit of opportunity there. I mean, we just get perfect blocks across the board, right? The only unit we really care about right here is the Defector. And none of these are big enough to stop it. I guess the pain point is if we block with the Defector, he can then kill it next turn with the Blacksmith. So maybe we just take the 4 and stop. I definitely want to be able to attack with the Defector next turn. He's where all of our game plan really comes in. Troll Chance fine. And it is interesting to note, I'm afraid we'll attack with the Defector and he's just going to block with the Apprentice, but we are in a space to where the Cataclysm into the Apprentice is pretty good. Now, the Inner Beast is another point of interestingness, right? We could have looked to put Overwhelm on the Defector. Just so many things that we can do with this guy. Lots of opportunities here. We can make a really informed decision after this combat. I think our unit here should be pretty safe, and it's just going to get blocked by that 1/2 the vast majority of the time. But we'll get to see if opponent spends mana here. If they spend mana after this combat, then we'll kind of know if we're ready to Buried in Ice or not. And then otherwise, we can maybe switch over to something with the Inner Beast. Like we can potentially look to say. Put Overwhelm onto the Defector and then send the Defector into the Apprentice. The thing I'm kind of curious with, it looks like you're up to a lot of shenanigans, but if we'd say put the attacked with both, right? Because now if we make a Cataclysm attack with the Defector, we don't get the attack token back. But if we led off with both units there, we could have attacked with both and then Cataclysmed into the Apprentice and then maybe gotten an additional attack after that. Tough. A lot of good stuff here. And again, like if we want to, we can even Inner Beast the Defector and then look to put Regenerate on it, so it gets all of its health back as it's looking a little thin against this board.
By the forge we create.
All right, so Hearthblood Mender comes in. It's pretty tempting to just go for the Overwhelm. So if we want to say go Inner Beast onto the Defector, that's 2 mana. The Overwhelm is 3, so we're up to 5. Cataclysm gets us up to 8. And then we get a 1 mana refund. So we technically have 10 mana for the turn, but we can't make any more attacks after that. I mean, the other thing we could do is just put units on the board. You don't have to actually attack this turn. Let's see how that goes. We're not like at risk of getting killed next turn. So let's add in the Combat Cook. Fixin' 5000's fine here. He has a safe attack on this board. Alright, do we care if we get Troll Chanted? I mean, we probably do. Alright, let's just stop. We can Buried in Ice this board like 100%, and then everything is kosher. There we go. That's what we were wanting to see.
And we will make great things in your name.
All right. Rip it. That's what we wanted to see. Opponent says, "Oh, Bus did have that little counter strategy to the Ornn game plan." All right. Gotta like seeing that. Alright, so what from here? I think I like this idea of just attacking with everyone. It's not a lethal, it only takes him to 2. But we can circle back to using this Cataclysm. He's got to play some kind of unit here, right? And then even if he doesn't, we can still roll into the next turn and Cataclysm something.
I will tell you of Ornn.
It's a little scary how that's gone. Maybe, maybe we got too hype about the things that were just about to happen here. Man, I want to go for the Overwhelm stance, but he's just going to open attack on us, right? Fucking fine. Let's see if we punted this one. We had so much excitement built up around this, and now... now I don't know. Now I don't know. We did at least blow up all of his equipment. He's still got this Fix Him 5000 in hand, but all of his equipment got nuked otherwise. He gets his fresh improvises, sure, but he doesn't have those big, gigantic ones here. Jarvan ready to party as well. Can't lose this one. We got too hyped. we finally got to showcase the Buried in Ices. We can't get too crazy here now. So how do we want to take this one? We're definitely going to Cataclysm. Do we want to Cataclysm into Ornn though? The problem being Troll Chant. I mean, I don't think we quite need to go for that. The other kind of interesting thing though, I think we're just stuck doing it, but Jarvan's going to come down as well. And I don't really want Jarvan hooking into Ornn. I want him to have to work for this. He's going to get the big Overwhelm unit out of it, but I think we clear out enough board to where we don't have to worry about dying. But this is dangerous, right? Troll Chant causes some problems. We get past all of like the small combat tricks, but Troll Chant is... the 4 attack stats is enough to cause a problem here. He's already played 1, right? That's our graveyard. Opponent. Which one are you looking at? Opponent played, nothing to see here. All right. All right, well, the attack's gone through. That's something. Jarvan comes in. That's something. He had to dig. So we'll see if he found a spell. All right, well, Ornn number 1 has been removed from the board. Jesus. Still feels like we fucked this up. It's just like on that previous turn, I assumed that we would attack with everything and then he was just going to like follow up with something else. And he didn't do any follow-up. He didn't do the thing he was supposed to do. So it made it a little weird.
The craft sings.
Come and get it!
Alright, this has the potential to lethal as well. I have to imagine if he had the Troll Chant to prevent the 2 damage from the Steadfast Elkin, he would have protected his Ornn. And so I think this should go completely fine. He's got to block everything. You could pick up some good blocks here, but it shouldn't be enough to
Perhaps they realize they've already lost.
then have a game-winning attack afterwards. Jeez, what a bunch of nonsense. All right, GG. This is not. It feels like we're supposed to play our Buried in Ice, and then you just concede, right? it didn't go anywhere near as expected. All right, GG. All right. That 8th battle spot. Jump on in. Ooh, exciting stuff. It's been a good day. It's been fun. I've enjoyed these matches so far. Let's see if we can't have some more good ones along the way. That's so wild, man. I just expect these. We're supposed to play Buried in Ice, you win the game, right? It's what it's supposed to say on there. It's supposed to say, 9 mana spell, you win the game. And it's done that in large parts, but it's definitely a real cheek squeezer in that last game. And then again, it feels like we're just a beat behind in terms of having these work out how we just want. Like I know that against that Samira deck, it was a little bit more awkward. I thought that we were going to be able to play the units, get the blockers on board, so that we wouldn't just have a full board of Plaza Guardians, and that was just wrong. I didn't interpret how we were going to be able to do that well enough, but feels like even in these other games here recently, it's been a little bit more awkward. But nonetheless, into battle here. Looks like Garen Kaisa. I think that should be okay across the board. We don't have great answers to Kaisa, but I think that one's going to be fine. Darkness is the one that like kind of worries me in terms of the big removal spells, but I think I'm looking to just cut. Like I want to cut out Samira Jinx. This feels like the one that is just going to cause us the most problems. This is like not a lineup I was really expecting to come at us. So I think this is fine. It strikes me as being the one kind of able to get the most width on us in the early game and cause us a bit of problems there. And so interesting space here. Like I think the timeline should be good against both of these. Let's go ahead and start with it. Like the timeline should cause problems for the Darkness deck, and then it's just kind of a toss-up here against Kaisa in terms of if she's able to, pop off here in the early game and there's not anything we can do about it. But we did get a reasonable timeline start. Hopefully our units will just be big enough, What more can you really ask for? Alright, can't interact with the hatchling, that's fine. We did pick up one of our ways to actually interact with old Kaisa out here. And so reasonable draw with the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. We're nowhere near doing anything with Forge, and we have the concurrent timelines, and I want to get on board. And so we're going to play the timelines first. I'm going to follow up with Zonite Urchin, discard the Weaponsmith's Apprentice. It would be nicer had we been able to, discard a Boom Baboon or a generated card from the Artisan, but I think that like now that we've got our timelines and we're building up, as long as we get on board, we're going to be okay. Actually, very interesting Steadfast Elkin. If we pick up a way to give it tough, that can pop off. I think here, though, I'm quite willing to just trade with Valor. I don't think he takes this trade ever, right? Valor is such kind of a key component in terms of hopping off with Kaisa, but I want to give the option there. Broadwing comes in. I don't think it's going to be able to challenge this turn. It's tough to have another 1-drop, so I'm going to add in the Favored Artisan. The first time you discard a card or damage the enemy nexus. It has to be on board for these stats, right? I was really hoping to get a 3-power unit on board this turn. Maybe it's okay. You'll be okay a turn from now. Man, he hit that everything, right? He hit the evolve. I wasn't expecting that to come in. This all just popped off. Okay. This is no scout attack for the round, and so that's okay. To build up our big old combat cook next turn. Alright, give us something cool, my friend. I think we probably want the upcycled Rake. Just go as big and powerful as we can. Not a very good collection of units for the Rake, though. Like, the Fangs just... It's nice having the lifesteal, but it doesn't really do anything on this board. I think we're stuck with the Grizzled Ranger. At least the kind of perk to the Grizzled Ranger is if we want to attack right now, like, it wouldn't die to the Xerxes hatchlings, right? The Grizzled Ranger is a little bigger than it actually looks, and so I think it can get some decent combats in here, and then after it does trade, we get the 3-4 out of it, right?
A mistake is the first step to improving.
Do we even want to bother attacking in this spot? Like, just trading the Ranger for the Protege doesn't seem very good. Alright, are we about to get Kaisa'd? At least he doesn't have the scout unit anymore if Kai'Sa's about to come down. Okay. More than happy to lose the Ranger. The Lurk has been hit. The Lurk has been hit. You know what's about to come up next round. Oh boy. Alright, let's get that one girl wrecking crew up and going. Gonna be dropping the Vi with the scout rake and trying to pull off some big Vi strikes for the turn. I don't think he has anything that's ever gonna just kill her. Let's lead off with the castaway. See if we find an opportunity to get a slightly better hook. I'm not certain how opponents feel about their ability to strike down Vi here. So I took the Endless Devout as well. It just strikes me as there was the elusive unit in there, but I don't think we'll need it. And there is a world where we actually get this sarcophagus on board. And so I feel like that Nigh Android was just going to be a little bit too slow. Champion strength. Okay, we can fight through this, right? Vi's a good block. Endless Devout's not a great block. But yeah, this is all fine. We can clear out their whole board this turn if they attack. So we'll put the Rake onto the Badger. We'll have to throw away Vi here, but killing all of their units is pretty reasonable. Like, the longer this game drags on, the more advantage that we're going to have here. Alright, interesting. We knew we had the scout unit. Or we knew we had the lurk unit. That dead draw showing up off the previous turn. That's fine. Let's get Trundle on board. Okay. I'll take it all. I'll take it all. Just need this game to stall out a little bit. Mystic Shot for that thing. Opponent's down to one card. The next turn, I'll hang on to this. Well, we don't have to hang on to the mana. Like, I want to go into this next turn and be able to play the Ice Pillar, and then also... okay, opponent gave up on that one. I wanted to be able to play the Ice Pillar and then also put the Scout equipment onto it, but... Victory unlocked there. Timeline's doing the Timeline's things. Oh, opponent gave up on it. Alright. Ooh, alright. Into that final battle queue. Let's see what we can do. 8-2. Win, hopefully in. Lose, probably going to have to call it a day. I don't suspect 8-3s are going to make it, but feeling good, feeling nice. Let's see if we can continue on. Ooh, stressful. I'm used to it at this point. From the old days of playing the old Magic cards, being at that win and end spot. It's stressful like the first time you're there. It's just one of those things to where, like, as you move on and on and on, it kind of dwindles in stressfulness. And so I still feel pretty good. Just once you cranked out that first one, yeah, you got higher expectations, higher sights to set your eyes on. And okay, what do we have here? We got Darkness again, Teemo Gnar. I think we'll leave that up. And then I'm going to ban out the Swain deck as a matter of... That's the one that probably has the most big single target removal in it. So we'll cut that one out. Dive in with old Ornn. Okay, Teemo Gnar up first. Hang on to this Weaponsmith's Apprentice. Buried in Ice, you might have a reason to shine later today. As this current moment stands, we aren't looking to crash with the concurrent timelines. Alright. Teemo's on board. No answers to him. I'm curious how, like, Teemo heavy this actually is, being Teemo Gnar. If this is going to be more along the lines of, say, like a Gangplank Sejuani style deck to where Teemo doesn't actually deal any damage, or if it's going to be something a little bit different. Now here, I ran Jax onto the board. I don't actually like this. We should have just played the Favored Artisan since opponent doesn't have any mana. So we would have been in a spot to where the Artisan doesn't just die to random spells. But I think we're still in decent shape as far as that's going. The bomb has been dropped. Let's boost up this Jax.
Any takers?
All right. Any takers? Jax coming in for battle. He says, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'll throw down. The pup out of the way. All right. Yeah, I would have liked it even more. Like seeing this kind of flurry of burn spells come in, I think we got a little ambitious with our Jax. We should have protected him a little bit better. But I think things are still okay. Apprentice can come in. We can look to troll chant this Teemo so that he doesn't get to deal the damages this turn. And now with that spell coming in, I think this is fine. Right? It's a little more compelling to kind of wait until he's flipped and you stop the like real ones, but I think that's okay. All right, the attacks are shut down. No flips from the old Bitsy Lizard. Let's get Combat Cook on board. I don't think we need the Mender right away at this point. And I'm going to go with the Pot of Pain just to try and crash in the damage here.
Oh, I spilled tonight's stew in our last battle. Oops.
The bomb has been dropped.
Mountain.
Come and get it.
Hammer, tongs, and
All right, we'll hit with everybody. If he wants to block the Weaponsmith's Apprentice and then just get nugged for all this damage, I'm pretty okay with that. And then as this board stands, I felt like, you know, that Apprentice damage is probably coming through.
Bring it on.
All right, well, not a bad spot to be in. I think we're pretty safe this game in terms of health and in terms of damage. So looking to drop the Hearthblood Mender onto Jax, give Jax the big bonus stats. Next turn we'll play Ornn, copy the Overwhelm equipment off of Jax, and then should be ending the game right there.
Stand with me by the light, as my ancestors did.
I'll scout ahead.
All right, Teemo doing stuff. Seems decent. All right, here comes the big guy.
I made this.
Let's get in there, Ornn.
But I named it Hammer.
Show Teemo what it's about.
Grandfather's anvil. The stories are true.
More air, more cones.
Hot for boiling.
Uh-oh, here come the big overwhelms, my dude. Need a harsh winds or something to get out of this one. Not today. Alright, Ornn unlocks the victory.
Now this
2
is
shots.
what good looks
Get
like.
that 9 wins. See if we can do it. Whew. Alright.
Winning never gets old.
Winning it never gets old. You're right, Jax. Spot on. Cool. Whew. All right, opponent selects darkness. Let's see what goes. All right, so with this, this is like one of these spots to where I really want to find something in the early game, but we don't need it that bad. And it's like I'm kind of eyeballing this and being like, oh, this Defector plus Darkened Spear is pretty decent against darkness, but it doesn't do anything to stop like even their mediocre draws to where they're putting like 3/2s on the board in the early game. So I'm going to hang on to Vayne. I don't really like keeping Vayne in our opening hands, but as we get mulligans like this to where our hand just doesn't do anything, the way that we're most certainly going to lose this game as if we go into turn 4 of the game having not played any cards. And so we'll hang on to Vayne, make sure we have a little something. Not expecting to see Yordle Squires coming in, but sure thing. Let's see if we can't battle through. Alright, well, definitely glad we hung on to Vayne. But this is the kind of scary thing I was talking about, right? If he's able to open attack with the catalyzer, get the bonus, and then we have to play Vayne and try and deal with it again later. Like, just makes all of his darknesses so incredibly good that it sucks to just kind of like leave this thing around. There's a darkness, only dealing 3 damage with that one though. We can maybe protect our Vayne with the Inner Beast if we need to. And we'll drop the combat cook. We don't have any equipment yet to give the bro scout. I do like Overwhelm on this board though. It's pretty tempting to just protect. Well, I would say at the end of the day, the way our angles are going to be going here. Oh, he doesn't even take the trade with the Sentinels. Interesting. The question is, do we even need to keep this combat cook alive? And I don't think we want to, right? I think we're going to be playing the Ranger Knight Defector 2 turns from now. And then we want it to have the Overwhelm equipment. Right, fresh Dark Bulb Acolyte. No darknesses for opponent. Now we're gonna just pop off with the Ranger Knight. 4 damage onto Vayne. Sad day for her, but these attacks about to roll through.
Let us cast shadows.
So I think this is safe, right? We're just gonna take 1 point of damage out of this. Or 1 point of damage onto our Defector. Now we're gonna look to add Weaponsmith's Apprentice. We're gonna get +1/+1 either way. I guess the question comes down if opponent is ever gonna have a way to just deal damage to our Defector before the tumble. And I don't think he's had a lot of cards coming through here that I wasn't quite expecting, but I think this is still fine. So if we tumble onto the Defector now, it's going to get +4/+2, so it'll have enough health to survive this initial Dark Bulb Acolyte, but not anything after that. Alright, well, we'll just come in with the open attacks next turn. Maybe we'll get something with Inner Beast, or if we need to, say, put an Overwhelm equipment, put something else on it, or just heal now. We'll wait on the Hearthblood Mender. I think we can bait out a lot of damage here, and then if he has the Vengeance, we don't just get annihilated. Okay. Manageable. Where you at, Overwhelm equipment? You're not done. You're not done. You're still putting in the work today. You got a lot to do, my friend.
His fire burns bright in our hearts.
All right, so the only unfortunate thing with this kind of sequence that we've taken is we missed out on the scouts, right? And so we don't have our scout unit on board to tumble into the opposing dudes and get the extra damage in that way, but we can accomplish a lot of that with these cataclysms. So if opponent plays a unit here, we cataclysm into that unit, we can still get overwhelm damages in. And so we have that kind of going for us, but let's lead off with this fish fight. Don't want the Ixtali Sentinel getting any life steals in here. Again, it should be a tough place to find the damage to just send in on the Apprentice. Just not they have a lot of ways to deal 1 damage, right? There's the Pokey Sticks, Go Hards, that kind of card, and then they have a lot of ways to deal like 6. Not 6, but Vengeances and the like, and so. Alright, there's our Cataclysm. I think that should do it. He's only got 1 mana. Oh, and the Pytos goes off onto the other unit. Alright, we're good to go now. Alright, that's going to get us the victory. So he crashes in for 6 Overwhelm. And then we're going to get to tumble in for that remaining 6 damage that we need. Click done. Into combat you go. Weaponsmith's Apprentice finishing the day off for us. GG. Alright. Not a bad set of battles. 9 wins achieved. We'll have to see if we end up making that top cut. And so it's tough. I don't know. I think in the last one, a lot of 9 and 2s made it. We did accrue a lot of losses with our... we did accrue a lot of losses with our timeline stack, but it appears we'll just have to check back at 17 June, 3:05 p.m. to check our qualification status. And so, not bad, not bad. I really wish, you know, the major mistakes, the major problems we had on the day were that that matchup against Annie Jin that we kind of threw away with the Mystic shots. If we'd managed to win that one instead of lose it, we could have been in a much better position to try and finish this thing off. And so that would have been cool to have. But you know, we're only here at 9 and 2. The other kind of thing with this is no disrespect to those opponents there at the end, but the 2 players that we had in the round 8 and round 9 weren't up to the matchmaking had to have gotten weird there, right? They weren't in that space to where, with those decks and the way that the games went, and with the one opponent just kind of conceding after losing the first game, I don't feel like they had the same record that we did. And so I'm not certain, you know, what happens with matchmaking in terms of that kind of spread happening as to where, you know, like I'm curious how it goes in terms of like if it's banking in on MMR, like our MMR shouldn't have been close, they weren't in Masters, and then, you know, what their records realistically were. I mean, I guess if they're still doing some of the MMR-based stuff, they may have realistically had 7 and 8 wins, but they've been playing against low MMR people the entire day. And then we just got matched up here at the end. But my kind of thing with that is I kind of feel like we only sat in the queue for like a minute. And I feel like as you're approaching the top cut, it's okay if you need to queue for like 10 minutes or something as you try to find those matches that are in the same match record space. And so like I don't know. It's tough to tell. There's no way to tell outside of Riot how many people are playing in these things and how long you may have to wait to have that happen, but I don't feel like those were true high-quality match gameplay that we had there at the end. But nonetheless, we got our 9 wins. We'll check back, see if we managed to make that top cut, see if we'll be spending Father's Day doing battle in the lands of Runeterra, or if we're going to be doing yard work like the rest of the dads out there. And so we'll just have to wait and see how it goes, because that is going to do it for us today. So I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. So this is Bust and me. Thank you for being here.